Just do a countdown. 3, 2, 1, and we're live.
Hey.
Hey.
Ooh, hey there.
Here we are. Well, here we are. Tim, this is, oh, god damn it, I always forget to count. Episode number 19.
Yeah.
Here we
Even
are.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
not,
Well, you've done more research than I
I'm a
have.
hardcore fan of the show.
Hardcore. Watching
The
all,
number one fan, maybe?
a few minutes of each.
I'm analyzing them. I'm figuring out all the hidden messages.
Right, figuring out what to say makes it all look bad.
He's
Yeah.
number one on the lore boards, like on the
Yeah.
forums for this show.
Do
He
we
is
have,
the top poster.
forums yet?
Tim would know.
When we do, I'll be the first on there.
I'll be the moderator here,
Yeah.
kicking people off. Right on. Well, it's good to have you, Tim.
It's good to be on.
So me and you go back a hell of a long way. For everybody who's not me, what the hell you been doing? What do you do with your life, man? Like,
Well,
briefly explain you.
all right. Well, I grew up in Sacramento,
Okay.
just like you.
Where did it all begin?
I think Southern Memorial Hospital in
Okay.
1989.
19 at 10 o'clock at night. And
Yeah, I think it was actually in the morning sometime. I guess I was kind of easy that way. I don't know.
Causing
I don't know
people
the
pain.
story,
All right.
You know,
Do you have
verbatim.
a video of this?
Hell no. Yeah, no one should videotape that.
No,
Yeah.
But they do. Isn't that weird?
It is weird.
Yeah.
It is weird.
Anyways.
Selective editing.
But I'd love to come back to that subject too.
Oh,
We'll get
boy.
back to that.
But
We'll
yeah,
put
so
a pin in that
tuned.
for now.
When I turned 17, I got into the late entry program for the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went to the Marine Corps. Yeah, and about 9 months into the Marine Corps, I realized I don't want to be a career Marine.
This sucks.
And no disrespect to the Marine Corps, but
Obviously, I mean,
a lot of people are like that.
you're through, man. We
Yeah.
got you. Yeah, thanks for the service, of course.
Oh,
But
thank you for paying taxes.
But yeah, well, we paid you. Well, there was a text actually. I'll break this real quick.
yeah.
I recall Rob, me and him were working, and this is, I think I may have met you at this point,
Mm-hmm.
but we weren't great friends. And you just texted him in the blue during the middle of a work day. He said, "Thanks for paying taxes."
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
Basically, you were, that's your paycheck.
I've
so-
always been that. Yeah, very thankful to the taxpayers. But yeah, after that, I got out and I went to school
Mhm.
for physics, and then I realized you can't make any money.
No, unless you're hawking.
Right. I guess so. Yeah, he probably made a lot of money.
I'm sure. He
Yeah.
had to.
The books.
It's the
You know,
books.
it's the
So it's not
movie.
actually the physics degree, it's the books.
Yeah.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's
Books?
the personality.
Getting a movie made about you is really the end game for any physics.
That's the end game for any
physicist.
For
intelligent
anything.
life.
I figure.
Yeah.
It's all about being remembered in film.
That's why
Yeah.
physicists do it.
We're going on, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Yeah,
let
yeah.
me
We'll
just finish
come
up.
back to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
finish up your intro here, and we'll
Yeah.
get into the
and
more
then
important.
I decided to become a airframe and power plant mechanic. So I'm still in school for that. And that's where we find ourselves today.
All
That's
right.
the short story.
This-
The
yeah.
Reader's Digest.
the abridged, the spark notes here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's where we can, of course, relate a hell of a lot, because it's funny, we've known each other for a while. Lives have kind of blended into this weird, like, we follow the same career paths,
Right.
this and that. Given the fact that now I'm doing the same thing, working on my airframe power plant ratings and working on planes. It's fun
Yeah.
shit, man.
Yeah. There's
You know?
also been a lot of Metro Cable employees on this podcast.
Forgot about that. Yeah, we have.
Can I say that name?
Yeah,
Is that
no, you
okay?
can. I
Okay.
think Kristen will be watching too.
Oh,
so
good,
yeah,
good,
yeah. She's been a recent, at least commented 5 minutes in, so we know she watches up to or skips
Yeah.
to the 5 minute mark probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So that's maybe I'll just poach all the Metro Cable people and
Just
get
do
them
it.
on the
Poach,
show.
poach them all.
There we go.
Kristen will have a heart attack though.
Well, I don't want to steal them long term.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just for a night.
Poach Kristen.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
I think we just found our next guest.
Yeah. Do it.
If I can convince her to come on, that'd be.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
But
Yeah.
Manhattans. That's the trick.
Manhattans.
Yeah, Manhattans.
Is that what she drinks?
I think so.
Okay.
Or is it? I can't recall. It's a
What do you-
whiskey drink.
What do you
though.
comment?
Kristen-
Comment in
comment-
the comment section. What do you drink, Kristen?
Yeah, and then we will
We'll
provide.
get you on the show.
We'll get you on here. But anyways, no. So it's fucking cool to have you here. I remember going back to some of the first episodes we had. Tim, you've been the shit pot stirrer
Yeah.
from the get go.
Yes.
Yeah, he's the angry guy in the comment
Yeah,
section.
he's the-
Everyone.
Really good at being the angry
The
guy.
angry guy.
Yeah,
Right.
and so I'm like, we need to get.
That
this
yells
guy.
at his radio and
Why are you talking about that shit? So
Do
it's-
something.
it'll be. I mean, it's kind of cool because there's a lot of who knows where things kind of get to.
Yeah.
But it's fun to take that controversial point of view. You know, I mean, it's that even going back to earlier today, I was talking to a friend of mine, and whether it's business or this and that, like I've got some friends that literally just post on Facebook nothing but, not like clickbaity things, but they're going for a reaction.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and you see
They're
a lot of
trolling.
that. They're trolling. Yeah, he's like you have the Facebook trolls, and that's some of the people are generally like that. Tim's always been good because he's the anti-troll, if you will.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you troll for good.
I dabble in both sides. You know.
Okay.
You can never tell. You know where I'm gonna end up.
He's a wild card, if you will.
You chaotic neutral.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, well, that's
okay.
good.
We're going into
The D&D. You know.
but which is really exciting. Basically knowing that the way that all that shit can go down. I don't know. I've always used you
Right.
as a tool in the internet realm.
Now it's here in an uncontrolled form in the studio with you.
Yeah.
Do you feel safe?
Not really.
No,
well, I mean, I
that's
kind of
good.
do.
It's exciting. It's like jumping out of an airplane.
It's pretty
You
exciting.
know?
Still,
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Would I?
really.
Hell
I
no.
mean,
No.
with a parachute, probably.
Are you kidding
Maybe.
me?
Yeah, you wouldn't do
well,
that?
yeah.
With you, without a parachute.
With a guy strapped to me, more. I mean, anyone qualified to do it? I mean, I'm more inclined to. But
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, it's just like, whoa, I don't even know if I'd be like super eager to jump out of a plane.
And I wouldn't.
For the
They'd have to
record.
push me out.
So there was a because I want to do this. I still haven't jumped out of a plane.
Okay.
We should all gather a day.
No.
We'll all jump out of planes together. How about that?
Oof.
Yeah.
That's
The
a tough
indoor
one.
skydiving, is that
Sick.
like a good training? Is it good?
No, because you're not jumping out of a plane. There's no plane jumping out of going on. You're just
You can practice falling. Or
you're not. You're floating. It's much different.
it's floating, falling. It's relevant,
but
right?
the
Yeah.
best thing that I had heard was it's a tactic they use
Okay.
when they're because you strap to a guy, right? And a good percentage of people freak out when they're in that. They're walking towards the little
Oh,
door.
yeah.
They're walking with you, doing the double walk, and a lot of people will do that thing where they grab onto the edge and they hold on,
Yeah.
right? So the guy goes, "We're jumping in 3," and you go, "Oh, "No, we're not. No, we're not." And he goes, "2, we're jumping in 2," and you go, "No, we're not." And he goes, "Hey, there's something wrong with your strap," and then people always grab their straps.
Yeah.
Oh no.
They let go of the door.
Oh, that's
Oh.
that's tricky.
that got me right now. I was,
and then you're out the door.
oh,
That's
no.
trolling for good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for the better because once
Yeah.
you're going up, you're going out the door.
Benevolent
Yeah.
trolling.
You know
yeah.
what I'm actually worried about?
Hmm.
And it's not the parachute's not opening because, most likely it's gonna open. You're gonna be
Well,
okay.
and if it doesn't, it's not your problem.
Oh God,
It's a quick and
that's not comforting in the slightest.
Oh, actually, yeah.
But
I
it's
don't-
having a heart attack, and I'm not joking about this. It's
Oh, man.
I'm worried that no matter what circumstance that I get, thrown out of the airplane, if I
Mhm.
jump out, I'm gonna have a fucking heart attack.
I think you're more inclined to poop your pants. Like, I think that's a more likely reality. I think.
so
You
much,
think- yeah,
so
but
much
I-
more unbecoming.
That might be enough, like, to put you off it too.
and
though.
I don't want to be strapped to a guy and poop my pants.
Yeah, think of the
Well,
of the other guy.
He's
Yeah,
gonna be
he doesn't
talking
want
about
that
me.
either.
Yeah.
Nobody wants
No.
that.
Nobody, especially the guy who's strapped to you.
He's gonna be talking about me for.
Oh, did you poop your pants? Oh, this is the third one this week.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's got to be rare. Pants pooping.
I
PP,
want.
I don't know.
Most people
You might
can
be-
probably handle
Probably a lot
good
of that going
skydiving. Yeah,
on.
probably most people can handle skydiving.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm pretty sure I wouldn't.
I'm worried whenever I get myself into a situation where
Mhm.
when I can't really think of another thing other than skydiving right now
Right.
because I'm kind of like now I'm fixating on it. It's giving me anxiety. is that I'm worried that I am gonna have like a cardiac event.
in like some sort of high intense
yeah,
situation.
then I'm gonna have a heart attack, and I don't know why. I've never.
Right,
Yeah,
Never
does your
had heart
family have
problems.
like a history of cardiovascular?
No.
Well, but the
shit?
thing is,
no.
because you've essentially, and that we go back to the whole thing. You went through the Marine Corps,
Right.
like
yeah.
you dealt with that whole thing. That's a
Yeah.
pretty stressful event on your life, right?
Maybe that's why.
You jumped out of
It's
planes.
a PTSD thing going on here.
So didn't you jump out of like a good amount of planes for that?
No, not
Oh,
one.
okay.
No, I
Oh,
was
okay.
actually at the time in the Marine Corps was it was actually very very not Marine Corps like. You don't imagine that.
Okay.
Well, all right. So basic training, it's very Marine Corps like. Everyone's yelling at you.
Mm.
You're running around. You're getting put in what they call the pit, and that's where they just fuck you up. They just they tell you that you're doing burpees and monkey fuckers and all
Piss
this
on you
other
a little
shit.
bit. And
Well,
You
what's
know.
hold on for the viewers and me? What's a monkey fucker?
You grab your ankles and then you go to the squat position and then you spring back up. I think that's what that is.
Oh man,
Yeah, it's
lucky fuck.
it's shitty.
Oh okay.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It sucks, especially when you have to do them until
They
you.
find really
Ah,
creative ways
monkey
to make
fuckers.
things suck.
If you throw up in
essentially.
there,
Yeah.
you know, you gotta pick it up, put it in your pocket. They're like, put that stick in the pocket. You know, disgusting. But yeah, so
Yeah.
all of that you expect that because everyone's seen Full Metal Jacket, and the only thing is that they don't really rip on. They don't I don't know. He's always talking about like how they could probably suck dick and stuff. He was always talking shit.
The Gomers?
Yeah.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was talking
All
shit to the recruits.
Yeah.
The,
You probably suck dick
the
real
gunny.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. They never say anything like that. But
Are they allowed to?
no.
Okay.
Is that wait? No. Hang on. There is a thing I want to ask you about this because I heard about it on probably the internet. Very much need to fact check this one, but I
Okay.
think there's like a safeguard or some shit that I heard they established in some of the boot camps now, where it's like if you give up or you're like too stressed, you can pull out a card and they're like, okay, go take a break,
Now,
which kind of seems like bullshit to me.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
It definitely doesn't exist in Marine Corps recruit
Okay.
training or combat training.
Which
But
I
to my
consider a good
understanding-
thing.
I feel like
but-
they would give people that card just so when they raise the card, they're like,
Yeah,
"Do a
well,
fucking fucker."
yeah, that's that'd be it. It's like I think if you had that, the last thing you want to do is fucking use it.
Yeah, you get fucking smoked.
Yeah,
forever.
yeah, for-
That's
it,
your
you're
man
done.
card, private. Get down and do some monkey fuckers.
That's pretty good.
Have you ever thought about?
That's my night gig.
Yeah. So, yeah. No, those don't exist in the Marine Corps. To my understanding, they're
Right.
in the Army. To my,
Really?
I think.
Yeah. Of course, this is going on. We haven't researched.
But
or
I don't know
anything
how
like
much of this is just inter-Marine Corps propaganda, still showing
Yeah,
like,
talking
like, I
shit,
don't really
yeah.
like the Army that much,
Yeah.
you know, whatever.
I'm not going to join the army to find out.
No, don't.
that. Right?
No.
Yeah.
I'd think less of you if you did. I'm just
See?
kidding.
Yeah,
Thank you for
you
your
would, but it's
service,
okay.
Everyone's great. We're all equally important.
Same team.
Yeah, right.
It's like, you know.
But so my Marine Corps career, you know, after that, after recruit training, you go to Marine Corps combat training if you're a non-combat position, which I was. And after that, you go to your MOS school. Mine was in North Carolina, and I was ground supply.
Okay.
And I would eventually end up in a non-deployable unit on MCAS Miramar, which is where they filmed Top Gun. I played volleyball in the same volleyball pit that Tom Cruise
Fuck
did.
yeah. That's what.
Nice.
And
Wait. Is that an honor or not?
I don't know.
Yeah, with that, he got a little weird.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't know.
Yeah, was
We
that
thi- we
classified
think-
information?
Well, we think
Yeah.
less of you now is the problem.
I don't know. I was just playing with the boys, you know. But yeah. So
Just playing some v-ball.
and I ended up as a fiscal clerk, which isn't even a MOS. It's not even an occupation in the
Really?
Marine Corps. Yeah. So I had pretty much the furthest away from an actual Marine Corps experience.
Well, here's what I've learned about life is
What?
that a lot of it's how you spin things. So one way you could say is, well, I ended up in a thing that's not even an MOS. The other way you could say it is, they created a
Yeah,
position for
exactly.
me because I was so unique.
There's some truth to that. Is the thing.
All right.
Is that when I ended up in this fiscal shop, it was for punishment, or it seemed like it, because everybody hated fiscal, and that's where everyone was sending, you know, the
Yeah.
not so stellar people.
Who did you piss off then?
Well, that's an interesting question. I happen to know the answer. It was a staff sergeant. She was a reservist,
Okay.
so she's not, you know, she's not used to being in active duty, but they have to go active duty for a certain amount of time. I
Yeah.
think I don't know why she was actually there, but she was my boss, and I controlled accounts for gear, so just serial numbers and stuff. I have to go around to all the squadrons. This is an air wing, and I would have to look at all this, you know, find all the serial numbers, and fucking treasure hunt every day.
That sucks.
Yeah, it was terrible. But
I did inventory
yeah,
for a while. It
Inventory control is just
blows.
ass. Yeah, but what happened is that there was this other Marine that had just come in out of MOS school, and I think maybe she liked me or something, but she was always drawing hearts on this board that I had of the account holders, which are a bunch of officers in the squadrons,
Gotcha.
and there'd be hearts on this board.
Yeah.
And I'd erase them, and I wouldn't think about it, you know. And one day I didn't erase them, and my staff sergeant came in and saw them and said, you know, what are these hearts for? And I'm sarcastic. You know, and I think I'm funny.
Right. Occasionally.
And I tell her, oh, the hearts. Yeah, well, I put the hearts next to the names of the officers that I really like.
Right.
You know? And, you know, I kind of did a little eyebrow and a little wink.
Little throwing.
You sold it
So
really
she
well.
said, mm-hmm, and I got fired the next day.
Oh, son of a bitch.
And I got put to fiscal. And she came into the office to gloat about it. She's like, oh, man, you thought you were having a hard time now. You're going to fiscal now, son.
Damn.
All right. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, but so in a way, the position was manufactured for me.
Pissing off the
Handcrafted just for
representatives.
Tim.
I ended
We
up
got the
turning it
place for
around.
you.
It was one of the best things I could ever have done in the Marine Corps, just because, you know, we put code locks on the door. You know, there was a lot of fun times had in the office. It was a good time.
Yeah.
It was a really good time. We were all really close knit, and it was just eventually such an easy job for me that I was
Right.
done by like 12.
You,
each day.
you understood what the hell to do to get the hell out of there too,
Yeah,
kind of
'cause
thing.
it was a job for fuck ups. My position was
Right.
I'm not saying the officers in the
I'd be perfect for that.
staff NCOs, but it was a
Right.
job for fuck ups, and I
Yeah.
wasn't a fuck up, so I did it really well.
Yeah, well, because to be honest, dude, you're a pretty intelligent dude, you know,
Right.
and some people's brains just don't work that well. We
Yeah.
can be honest, you know?
Especially when I was getting in.
yeah,
There's,
right, yeah.
There's some
There's a reason.
there's some people in boot camp.
Not the brightest. A
No.
lot of people that generally tend to join that I've seen from friends and everything. It's like, man, it's like a last resort, which is a bummer because there's some damn good people on the opposite side that, you know, that's definitely, you know, should be going into that path, the field. But you had it squared away, so
Yeah, I worked it
Yeah.
out okay.
Yeah.
I worked it out all right.
got it all squared. But now, so yeah, changed all. You've been through like 5 different paths on life and all that.
Yeah, I've worked at Metro Cable with you,
Oh yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
which is great. You know, I really like that job.
Yeah. That was a good one.
It was the drive-in everywhere.
Yeah. Gets a little old.
Like, I have those big ass tires on my Ford Ranger. I was like, this
This-
isn't working
yeah,
out for
this
me.
Costs too much to
yeah.
replace those tires all the time.
And then I worked at a pawn shop for a brief period.
Those were some shit
No,
times.
yeah, it was pretty fucking incredible.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe, you know, there's actually a little bit of there's some stories that could come out of that, I think.
Well,
But,
yeah, I remember a handful. I can't remember like
I don't know. I can
offhand.
imagine so. I mean, I worked at GameStop, and the whole like used game thing. We fell under a lot of like pawn shop rules, and
Oh,
it kind of it gave me an insight to some of the shit that like pawn
Now,
shop deal with.
Imagine that with more crackheads.
Yeah.
And you'd
Oh
have
my
something to the fraction of what you do. Because I remember you coming, like, we'd go have beers or something afterwards, and you're just stressed out of your mind from fucking tweakers
Yeah.
talking about coming back with guns like 3
Yeah.
hours later.
There was one time that somebody waited for about 3 hours outside the store, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna get you." You know,
Right.
they were really
little something
loud
for
and
you.
angry. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's top you off.
That just sucks.
And, you
'Cause
know,
it's
there's
like-
some bullshit too. Just
Well, it's
tweak your
like-
shit.
It could be like, you know, just total bullshit. You know, they almost certainly don't mean it, you know, a good amount of times when they say that. But like the stress that causes and like the anxiety, it's just like that alone just makes it so messed
You know
up.
what helps that shit? Jumping out of planes. It's
You know
good.
what?
It's that
I can-
release you
I can
need.
escape from the gang members by jumping out of planes.
Well, no, it doesn't escape. Well, you can escape from gang members that way.
Because they're on the
but-
ground. I'm in the plane. That sounds.
So you're actually coming back
I'm
to
coming
them.
at
You're coming to them, yeah.
Hey, I'm right here.
You're doing their work for
No,
them.
but it's the stress relief. Like, you remember we always argued the difference between monopoly stress and blockus stress,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I remember that.
And so the same theory being when you work at the pawn shop, you're like, fuck, this sucks. It's like this long-term gripping stress. You go in a plane, jump out of it. It's going to release that because you get that initial like burst of adrenaline and all that.
Right. No,
Yes.
I get what you're saying. I get what
For
you're
you.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could quit your job and not have to deal with that shit.
Which is what I did.
Which is a much better way to go. It's a better overall solution to the problem.
Yeah.
Instead of fixing and putting a Band-Aid on it, just get that
Just
shit
move
going.
on.
Yeah, move on.
It's not worth it. It wasn't worth the I think at the end I was earning $12 an hour, and it wasn't worth getting stabbed or killed. Not that that's ever happened
right.
with this particular pawn shop,
But it's not to say it couldn't.
but you
at some
know,
point.
I'm a pioneer. I'm a guy of firsts,
A little topper.
and I could be the first guy who gets shot at the pawn shop.
That'd be
So.
a shitty title
man.
to hold too.
2 weeks before my GameStop, I worked at it.
Yeah.
It got held up. In
Oh
fact,
my
that's
God.
actually how my position was created. I had a temp position that became a full-time, or not full, but like an actual position.
Yeah.
Because someone quit. because it was some woman, her husband was like, you need to like leave this job, like you're gonna get shot, like this place sucks.
For video games too.
Yeah,
give
it
me
got
Mario
held up.
Kart right now.
Right.
Or I'll fucking kill you.
And there was that one that got robbed and like burned down or something like that. Do you guys, is this ringing any bells?
I don't know.
feel like
I
you might
I
be
don't
playing
follow the
this.
GameStop.
GameStops, they deal with some stuff, man.
That's crazy,
It's
man.
weird.
Jeez, I didn't know that. I had no idea about
Well,
the GameStop
so-
situation.
Which is kind of interesting because, like, you talk about that. What was it? It's like $12 an hour or something you're making. and
Right.
People are threatening your life. But now, like, going into aviation career, and this is something that I know we've talked about a million times and not, but it's like the fact that there's a ton of jobs out there if you have the skills. Like,
Right.
we just need some skilled people to do that. And so that's what you're finishing up the program over at SCC.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like you go over there and you can come out, you're fully prepared. You've got experience. You're ready to go. And you can walk into a career where there's already a demand for these jobs.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a great alternative.
why
to,
don't more people know about this shit?
I think it goes back to, remember when we were growing up, maybe it was when we were growing up, people were always talking about how important it is to go to university or college, get a 4-year degree. You got to get a,
Right.
and then everybody, obviously it was what people do. They're
Sure,
like,
I have to.
yeah, well, it's like they're water. People are water. They're gonna take the path of least resistance every time.
Okay,
Or
yeah, yeah.
electricity. If you like,
I mean,
if you
yeah,
like that better.
Whichever way, yeah, for the
Yeah.
but that makes
I
sense.
was going
yeah.
for like a Confucius thing. But
People like water.
yeah.
People, yeah, well,
I think
they
he
figure
says
it out.
that.
That's the Bruce Lee one. Be like water.
Yeah.
Well, people figure out what makes them more money and what requires them to spend less money.
Here's
to
the
get that.
thing, though, is I think it's different than that, because just look at the amount of like people going after business degrees,
Mm-hmm.
and unless you really distinguish yourself, like you go further than a bachelor's,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you can throw a cat out the window and hit a business major.
What about MBAs though? Like that's the master's level, right? So if you were
Yeah.
to take it the next step, it
well,
seems
then,
like
then
those
it's
are
fewer. You get fewer and fewer.
Yeah.
You have
What
to throw
I'm
the
s-
cat farther.
What I'm saying
Yeah.
though is, it's like, is it going to get to the point where the MBA is going to be like almost useless?
I don't know.
Because I know
don't
there's a
think-
lot. I hear a lot about MBA programs, so I know there's a lot of people applying for that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it seems like we could be like looking at that. I don't know anything about like.
Well,
where
it's
that-
impacted. I know
yeah.
that for sure. What's interesting though is, I mean, on that same note, how like the MBA may be becoming less prevalent. Right now, you say you walk out with a diploma from high school.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't hold as much water as it used to.
It almost doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's almost like a competency test. really.
Right. It makes sense because, like, for me, it's just as simply, can you, you got it or not? Like,
Mm.
if you,
Were you able to check the boxes?
Yeah.
For 4 years.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's pretty
But
basic.
if you
relative.
look at like a lot of college degrees, it's
Mhm.
it's hey,
It's the same thing.
Hey,
It's just-
were
There's
you
just
able to
more
check
boxes,
these boxes?
and you have to do a
for
little
4
more
years.
work for those
Yeah.
boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that shows some.
Which
It shows some distinguishing. It's not a negative.
Right. Yeah. It shows because that's the one on the
But-
positive, of course, towards like a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
It shows that yes, we were able to throw a task at you that's relatively complex, and you figured out how to, let's say it's a research paper or some sort of history. You've gone through the hoops of you can complete a task that's more than just go pick up that box.
Right, but
You know.
and I think the reason why you don't see a whole lot of people in trade programs, and especially aviation trade programs, because I guess the aviation field's super, it's unsaturated.
It's
There's
extremely
nobody out there, I
unsaturated.
guess.
Yeah. No, they're in dire need of mechanics.
And I think part of that is because everyone's off getting degrees at 4 years college, and a lot of them are they probably shouldn't even be doing that. To be
Yeah.
frank.
Well, because I know. So here's one that always got me: is I recall distinctly going through school, and I had this 2 paths put in front of me. They said you can either do good in college or high school, go on to a 4-year college, and then be successful in life, or you can not go to a 4-year and you will be poor and you're going to work at McDonald's. And I was
right.
like,
Yeah, they give you
that's
the
it?
false dichotomy of
yeah, that's my 2
But I
options.
know guys who are my age,
Mhm.
right? And at 17 they became a welder.
Right.
They got like 2 houses and like 6 cars. They're
Went into
living
trade,
like
right?
some borderline rap rap lifestyles.
Well, because you're making 6 figures a year.
Over exaggerating a little bit, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
But nonetheless, you're making great wages,
Yeah.
prevailing wage as a very high level journeyman, would that be tradesman? But it's like, why isn't that told? And there's a huge need for more people doing this. Why is it that didn't become like a thing?
Well, I
Why
mean,
would-
back in the day, like college was what you did I mean, they're operating on like a paradigm, I guess you could say, of it's just like, oh, that's what you do. You go to high school, go to college, get a nice job. That was the world like 30 years ago. What, like, it's definitely not the world now. I mean,
Well,
that's
I don't
not
know, maybe
that's not
10
the
years
path.
ago.
I don't know. I
When
think
that
it's probably-
changed?
it's
I don't
probably
know
like 10
when
years ago.
the change was gradual, but we're definitely at the point now where 4-year school is not the universal, like, oh, you get that college degree and then you're gonna, like, you know, get a job wherever. It's like, no, it's oftentimes the 4-year degree is often a first step. I mean, for me, I was looking into teaching, right? So I got
Mhm.
my 4-year degree, and still all that did was set me up to get my credential, and then I could become a teacher.
Right.
But
Right.
even my bachelor's wasn't enough to get me a teaching job. But there was still work in teaching or in education that I could do with that bachelor's. I guess what I'm trying to get at is, like, now we definitely have a need for, like, telling students, people who are coming up, they're coming up to 18 years old. You know,
Yeah.
what are your options? That's what I do right now, kind of, right? I work.
Yeah, you've got that push.
I work in a high school. Okay, Avid tutor. Avid is a program. You're familiar with it?
Yeah.
Like, you had Avid. Well, you went to Del Campo, right?
No, he was,
I didn't go anywhere.
But okay.
he just was
That's why I'm a
born that-
mechanic now, not a physicist.
He's born
yeah,
this
see.
smart.
I'm
He came out screaming on at Sutter
yeah,
Hospital at
came
1989,
out,
10 p.m.
quoting Macbeth.
It all
Yep.
be where
Good
it
to
all
go.
began.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that
That's
Sutter
it.
Hospital. But no, Avid's a program. It's a college readiness program, and it's all about preparing students in high schools and even like middle school, elementary school, but strongly at high school to get ready for college.
Mm-hmm.
But the way we do it at San Juan High School, where I work, is we're a lot more accepting of like the junior college programs and like even certificate programs within that, trade schools. Because I mean, you're with Los
Right.
Rios, so we'd even be
Yeah.
like pushing. We would tell them to go wherever, like, you know, wherever they want to, whatever they want to do, like, do the right path for that. And that path may not include 4-year college. But we
So you do that now, but that's because of the people that come through your school.
and even
versus like
yeah.
Well, it's actively encouraged to go to a 4-year college. And,
Oh, it's
you know,
super.
which-
In
it's
fact,
not-
we still kind of like there's definitely still from what I've seen, and I don't think this will be controversial to say given my job, but I've definitely seen almost a bias. There's a preference, I would say. They
Okay.
prefer for students to go for, the idea is they should go the highest that they should go, and often that's seen as
I'm
like
offended.
go to the,
the highest.
best.
Yeah, we didn't make it.
What's higher than aviation, my man?
Well, shoot, you know what? The advisors in that program would say, if you-
Space, jackass.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
come
no,
on.
if you want to, like, if you want your job, because I mean, like, if you want the job that you're going for, you
Right.
have to go the path that you're walking right now.
Yeah.
So if that's what a student wanted to do, then they would tell you to walk that path.
But that is the issue, though, with 4-year degrees right now, is that people aren't getting jobs.
Yeah.
They're getting out and they're going back to Starbucks.
Well, I
Because
think
yeah,
it's they
that's
have-
the biggest one.
They
How many
have
people-
they have expectations that don't reflect the current state of things.
Well, all right, and I think those expectations were put there by the school systems.
Mhm.
And okay, so
4
let
years
me
prior,
let me
right?
get
Yeah.
a little conspiratorial
Okay,
here.
bring
Let's
it in.
do it. Yeah, let's break
I
out
think,
the
I think
tinfoil.
that maybe universities, they're heavily government funded, right?
Okay.
Obviously, student loans are a government fund.
Yep,
that
yeah.
that the university doesn't have to worry about. You know, just overcharge the shit out of people
Right.
for Hey, come on, tuition.
No, it's a
My wife's going to university right now, and it's like it's fucking ridiculous.
It is,
bullshit.
and it's getting
How
more
much it costs,
expensive. Yeah.
And so they have all these overcharging universities that are handing out useless degrees.
Mhm.
You know.
Hey, man,
it's-
no, I propped open my door with my degree the other day. I use that thing every day.
So it's not useless.
I prop
Okay.
my
Let's
phone
be
against
honest
it
here,
when
yeah.
I do yoga in the morning. I'll, like, prop my phone against the degree. 'Cause
do
it's,
yoga?
Like, good.
What the
No, I
fuck?
don't actually. This is just a bit. But no, the point is,
Hang on. Let's
point
let's
is-
just stop this whole. You do yoga?
no, I have done yoga.
Should men be allowed to do yoga?
Yes, it should be encouraged to.
Dude,
do
it's a
yoga.
man. Yeah, man. After
Joe.
he does yoga.
Joe, have you done yoga?
You flip a coin.
No, I'm still a man. Therefore, duh.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You should do yoga, Joe.
Yoga.
But yeah,
We're gonna do
alright,
a
yeah.
yoga episode. But anyways, the
With
point
the
is,
yoga episode.
I use my degree every day, but none of it pertains to history.
Well,
with what I use that degree for.
Right.
That's my
Yeah.
it's kind of my point, and I don't want in history. I think it's fucking incredible. I study
it's very
a
important.
lot of
It's
history.
the shit. Yeah.
I'm really interested in it's mostly combat stuff because I'm stereotypically male. I'm a
Kinda
cis.
into that shit, yeah.
Is that what they call them?
Yeah,
University
cis
cis male. Okay.
Well, I mean, you-
Oh, that's right. I don't. See,
You
I
come
try to.
from
I'm,
a
I'm,
military
I'm, I behave
background?
in the
Your experience?
heteronormative behavior of studying warfare.
Nice.
I think it's really interesting from
Killing
you know,
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hitting
Well,
stuff.
it's important to know how to kill things.
I would think it's probably the third most important skill.
What's the first?
Caring, compassion.
Second, knowing how to
Love.
fuck things. Third, knowing how to kill
Second,
things.
second.
What?
If
Get
that
outta
was the
here
second, that
with
would be
your
related
compassion.
to the third.
What are you talking about
first.
here?
How to pour a beer.
Fuck, marry, kill. That's the three.
No,
Yeah,
how to
yeah,
really,
that's right, yeah.
how to really pour a beer
So,
well.
How to fuck
I would
things,
say that's number
how to marry
one.
things, and
How to kill
how to
stuff,
kill stuff.
right.
Yeah.
How to pour beer? Yeah. Well,
That's
should be-
number 4.
it's really
That should
important.
be in the top
and
5.
Pouring beer is context sensitive, and let me explain what I mean by
Yeah,
that.
please do.
Okay.
This is a good tangent.
If we're here in the studio and we're drinking bottled beer, and when we pour, we're gonna pour with that nice, 1/4 inch ahead
Right.
on there.
It's just flowing right,
It's nice,
smooth.
perfect. Creamy. It's
Just
like
let it
a
roll.
Cadbury egg.
Yeah.
But
Making me thirsty for a beer all of a sudden.
I was like, hey, you got any beer? But
Do we have beer?
I don't know.
I
I
don't
didn't see.
think- I
any.
didn't bring any. Yeah.
But
I
if
don't-
you're
I don't
at
bring
a
anything.
bar or like a sports event,
Right.
you want no head
Oh yeah. Well,
because you're paying
mainly-
$8.
that's
Yeah.
the or 12 or fucking
12.
20. or-
12 for Coors Light.
Yeah, and it's a plastic cup that's
Yeah,
eight
you want
ounces.
that to be.
I don't give a shit about head. I want the most
Perfect.
amount of beer.
You want the surface tension holding it
Yeah,
in.
you know
It's
how there's the,
curvature. There's
what
a
are they-
curvature.
what's
It's a
that?
surface tension
It's
thing.
there's a particular word for it. It's like the convex or something.
I think
It's
that's it. Convex.
Yeah.
it is a convex
Yeah.
shape, but
That's what
it's,
you want
Yeah, you
on the
want that.
pour.
Yeah.
You're like that better be
Oh, yeah.
above.
I want
the
that sucker
That
where-
better be above the lip.
Where when you set it on the counter, I've got to
Yeah.
go take a little sip off the top of it before I can carry it away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. A lot of people lose sight of that. They do home pours, but you're at a bar.
Right.
Nah, it's bad form.
Yeah, I don't know. When I'm at the bar though, you get like a nice cold beer, and it's got like even kind of a creamy texture to the beer itself. You're gonna want a good amount of foam.
Nope. No foam.
Get out of here.
No,
No
get out
foam.
of here.
You're
No,
fired.
just-
No, you're gone. What are you talking
Huh?
about?
Oh,
Come on.
Guess I'm
Hey,
getting
you got-
casted out.
No, you gotta get your money's worth.
Well, I mean, they're
Well,
like at a
even
bar,
at a
they're never
bar-
gonna fill it to like the very tippy top.
Unless you like that bar and they like you back.
Exactly.
That's
There's
okay.
there's bars that I go to that I
You'd
walk
be a
in
good
there
person.
and they hand me a drink.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely. See, you know what? Maybe that's
They charge me for
my
it.
Yeah,
style.
they charge you too. Yeah.
I don't really care if it's full to tippy top because I want some like headroom for it.
So you're
you know?
you're more of a you're more like into the quality of the experience than
More or less.
than
Oh.
to the value of the dollar.
Of
there.
course.
Okay.
If you care about that, why are you drinking at the bar, you dummy?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, you're trying to get every cent out of the
Seriously,
yeah.
no. It's like once you're buying from bars,
Mhm.
like you're already like really jumping like price wise.
Yeah, you're tripling that at least.
There's like
At
you know,
least.
it's not like just 7-Eleven. You know, like oh, am I gonna have like a Coors or am I gonna have like a Blue Moon? You know, you're thinking like $1 or $2 difference. No, when you're going from like home to bar drinking, you're talking like $4 or $5 jump all of a sudden, depending on what you're going for.
It does make
You're
yeah,
not wrong.
So
I feel like
if
you're gonna
you
win
care,
this
so if you're
argument.
Yeah,
nickeling
it's
and
fine.
diming that hard, don't drink in the
Alright,
bar.
sorry.
Walk in there drunk and be like, I need a beer and I need there to be headroom because I'm gonna be like shaking it. Like that's why I get headroom on my bar beers.
Because you're already
Shake your
fucked up when
beers,
you
yeah.
walk
Because
in.
I'm already like
Ah,
slippery. Because I don't want to pay because I'm broke. The bottom line of this is I'm broke.
That kind of brings us back to that college degree thing. huh?
Right.
Yeah, it's all connected. It's all connected, Tim.
Fuck.
He's over
like
here. He's got
poetry,
like
it
the most
rhymes.
education of all of us. I think he's got more education than us two
Fuck,
combined.
He's got way more education. Yes.
Education. Yeah, I didn't.
You can write a hell of a paper.
He can.
Dude, hey, and that's a useful skill if your job involves that though.
I should write I should write like a 20-page paper on the causes and effects and significance of why I'm broke and all that.
That seems like something that
The
would trend
history.
on BuzzFeed.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
a BuzzFeed
It's like
thing.
this
the
history.
They
clickbaity
play some
stuff.
cutesy music behind it and like ding ding ding. Oh, this this student writes about the perils of being a student.
Oh, Jesus, man.
It's like a 20-slide
shit.
show like
You do
article. It's like
so much of that shit nowadays.
oh, it's
Yeah.
horrible.
Just little quick facts. Facts with quotations.
And so this is one too. Like I am super edgy about what to even, because I used to, like how sometimes you get in those modes where you start trying to correct people online. And it's just like the dumbest thing you
Do
can ever
I?
do.
Oh.
Yeah, I know you do. But it's like the biggest thing I've learned is that you got to work not to fucking fall into those traps, right? Because people will post some stupid shit, and like what was one the other day? Can't remember. Had something to do with Okay, well, here's the problem. I haven't actually looked into it, but there's a bill apparently that's talking like the clickbaity titles are like it's gonna ban Bibles.
Oh yeah, you know what? I saw this.
Yeah, you saw that one too,
I
right?
saw this. Yeah.
And I'm like, this is clearly
Wait,
misread.
It's gonna
This
ban
has got
Bible?
It's gonna ban.
What?
It's gonna ban Bibles.
ban Bible sales
See ya.
in California, and
No more
everybody's
Bibles.
flipping the fuck out.
But
I'm
here's
like,
the fucking thing.
you didn't read it. I guarantee you didn't read it because there's not a bill out there in
You
Congress.
can't ban books yet.
Yet. Yeah, we're not near 3,000 yet. Or
Yeah.
what was that? Nazi Germany, I guess. 18.
Nazi
19,
Germany.
1984.
1984.
I'm not a history major.
That's not
Fuck
Nazi.
off. Yeah.
Hey,
I fix things, all right?
when
See, I
did
tell
when
you,
did that start?
Let's get our history guy over
Yeah,
here.
Send me
Let's
a
go.
Abraham Lincoln, buddy. I got to put that degree to use to get some money, man.
Let's get this going here.
Oh yeah, we gotta give him a buck for every history fact.
Dude, I'm too learned to just like give
Oh,
you
yeah.
trivial history
Yeah,
facts
I'm
for
sure.
free, man.
Yeah, it costs
let me
fucking
get
money.
five.
I put okay. all
Five
right.
facts.
history facts.
Okay, what do you want to know?
Spit them out.
Well, you're the history guy. What should we
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, tell us some
Okay.
important stuff here.
Yeah.
Oh man, you should give the history
Where
major
George
more money.
Washington's teeth actually
Let's-
wouldn't.
Let's finish your point first
Oh,
about
yeah.
this.
So
Yeah.
the point being, there's no fucking way that you can click and people love to just that's bullshit. How can you do something
right,
like that?
angry face, angry
face, yeah, angry
reacts,
emoji, and then
Yeah.
Unsolicited, unchecked. If I can comment back, it's bullshit. Like you just because it's there doesn't mean it's true.
Right, and I feel like maybe like 20. I don't know. I'm pulling this out of my ass, but I feel
Mm.
like there's like 20% of people are just like yes.
Yeah, no,
It's real.
I'd say
You
more
know?
than 20%.
Yeah.
I'll bet you a lot higher than 20.
Oh, you think so?
Just see that and they're like, and they repeat it. The problem is
Well-
perceived notion, right? So
Okay.
you perceive something to be like you make a big deal out of it, whether it is real or not. You've now flooded it to be real. If that's what goes down, that's what's written in the history books, then by all accounts, that's what becomes real, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
mean,
so. You know,
People
yeah.
are kind of figuring out reality all the time.
Which is kind of bullshit. I mean, it's a business tactic. That's what they do all the time. That's advertising.
Well, okay,
if you will,
people also
you know?
like when they see like clickbait titles that like agree with their worldview, they're gonna just like accept it because they're like, oh hell yeah, this supports.
It's confirming. You know,
yeah.
it feels good.
Yeah,
And-
confirmation bias,
Yeah.
right?
And from
I,
what
yeah,
I-
I suppose
Yeah.
that's what that is.
From what I like, kind of don't really actually know too well about like Facebook's algorithms. It throws more information. It throws more like titles or more headlines at them that they would be more inclined to support anyways. And so it's
Right.
kind of like it's an echo chamber type thing.
And on this Bible bill, I think your point was that there's no fucking way that
Yeah.
it's actually
Yeah,
banned.
oh,
the
you just
sale
use
of-
that
That'd be the
hair
worst
common
hill, like,
sense.
That'd be the worst hill to die on. Like
Yeah,
ban
right?
Bibles. You
What
would
would
lose
that
so
even
hard.
mean? You can't do that. There's no.
Yeah.
There's no basis.
So they're
behind
saying
it.
It's
something that
literally
to
the
me-
most widely distributed book in the entire probably world. I think
Yeah, it's the best. They call it the bestseller, but they're giving it away
Yeah.
for free.
second
How
only
many
to
people are
Harry
really
Potter and the
buying-
Goblet of Fire.
I don't know. They do those missions overseas, and they bring
Yeah, they're forced
know,
on people
a
lot.
bunch of fucking Bibles too.
Yeah.
Like here, you can get a sandwich, but
Can
you
I get a
gotta get
Bible
this
over
Bible
here?
too. They hand you the Bible.
Yeah.
Like all they want is a sandwich. But
Yeah. They're
you know.
they're looking
Like,
at
sure,
I can't,
whatever.
I can't eat this.
Sure,
Fuck.
Bibles, man. They're
they're everywhere. They're
Everywhere.
everywhere.
a lot
But
of times they just give it
nothing
out for
wrong with
free
that, in my
too.
opinion.
So like
Yeah.
a lot of churches will just have like a stock of Bibles too, just to
pass out,
Ask
yeah.
a Christian for a Bible. They're probably gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
Walk
Or
up
a
to one on
hotel.
the
Really?
street. Yeah.
You know what? I
'Cause
wonder
why-
if
why
that still
wouldn't they?
holds.
That's the point of it. You're just supposed to just hand it out.
Nowadays, I think
It's like the greatest mixtape of all time.
but I think things might have changed because nowadays, like a lot of people that I met that are Christian, Catholic, whatever, they're kind of a little more stingy than that. They'd be like, "Well, you just go buy a Bible. You need to read it." They won't
Oh,
just hand
really?
it to you. I don't
Wow.
think they'll hand it to you.
Go
Not
ask
very
a
many.
Mormon for a
Oh,
Bible.
no.
Oh, you get it real quick, right?
They'll throw it, and they
Mormons are
won't.
nice people,
Well,
though.
They won't even stop. They're great people. That's why it's so
Yeah.
hard to fuck with them when they come to the door. Jehovah's Witnesses.
I feel so bad.
Our church gave us
Yeah.
Bibles, like when because we grew
Did
up
they?
Catholic.
I don't remember them giving me a Bible.
They knew your
I think
fate.
they do it in like first
Maybe that
grade or
was it.
something like that.
I betrayed them.
Filthy heathen.
the church I
Right.
play drums
Freaking
for, I'm part of. They give
Slinging the spaghetti over here.
they'll give a Bible to like the kid, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is insured for life." They're like, anytime you can just throw this at someone, you can just come back and like they don't
Another
actually say
one.
that. That would be like
It's
very
the,
Jesus
It's
like.
the craftsman of
Yeah,
Bible.
exactly. Yeah, it's the lifetime guarantee. I think that's like I think they were probably trying to like jokefully imitate that.
right.
It's very like it's charming when they do it though. But Yeah. So the point is this tangent's all about they produce a lot of Bibles.
Yeah.
So for people to actually believe that there is like a conspiracy to ban Bibles, that'd be the stupidest thing to get behind.
It is a really weird thing, but I imagine it's some kind of like no Bibles being sold at like school. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably something like
maybe
that.
that's because that's people
Which
will
I'm fine
miss.
with.
Yeah,
You
that's.
know, I think we
cool.
should either keep schools secular or teach all things.
Yeah, one or
And,
the other. You don't.
we
you
don't have
don't
enough
pick and
time to
choose.
teach all things, so let's just keep it
'Cause
secular.
how many religions
frankly.
are there? It's a good like 3,000,
There's a lot.
4,000. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
I think you should teach the Bible electively
in
so
like
that you
college
can
courses.
understand high school.
Well,
but
not in a
electively,
preachy way, but
But not
just
a
simply
preachy-
like, look,
yeah.
this is a real life thing.
They should
You're
do a
not-
theology course.
You're
where
not going to
like,
understand
Yeah.
like great European works of art without the Bible as context. You're not.
So
Yeah,
you
that's
you
true.
need
No.
you need to know what happened in the Bible to understand.
the context of what's
The
going on.
context
in
of
these
European
pieces,
art,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a good point.
Historically,
like,
right?
You do an art
Yeah.
history class, you'll probably learn a good.
You talk about the Bible.
You talk a lot of
That
Bible
makes
stories.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Well,
like
the
David.
Michelangelo. They're David or
Yeah, like which
Yeah.
by the way, David's
David.
statue. It's like one of my favorite statues. It's like I want to like copy of that in my home
Wait,
one
which
day.
statue?
It's the one with the naked dude with the he's
There are a lot of naked
He's hella ripped.
statues.
he's hella ripped.
like
he's
the
holding.
Prometheus,
It's
like the engineer
David.
from Prometheus.
Yeah, kind of.
What?
Yeah.
It's just like the perfect body.
like an 8-pack.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
he's got
that's what
like
he
curly
looks
hair
like.
and shit. But no, it's that one though. I love that statue because I was like taking a history class. We're talking about
But
the
with hair.
Renaissance. It's the hair. He's got the Jonas Brothers hair. But that's not why I like the statue.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
But it's like
odd
this-
that that's the triggering moment. But yeah,
It's sculpted after the David who took down Goliath.
Right.
Yeah.
Eventually becomes king, right?
King David,
Yeah,
yeah.
King
Yeah.
David. All right. I just want
wait,
to
did
get
he?
I want to get the lore right.
Is he the one who chopped the baby in half?
I think that was
Oh,
Solomon.
fuck.
I
Or
think
was
Solomon-
gonna? He
I
wasn't
think that
actually.
was-
He didn't chop it.
He
was
never
gonna,
did it.
Yeah,
He
was
just threatened to do it.
threatened to
Okay.
He
do
was
it.
just willing to
Yeah,
do it.
that which was a good story.
I always get him
there are a
confused
few
with Solomon.
really
then.
good
Yeah.
stories.
He's a good guy,
Yeah, he's a good guy.
but he's okay with killing babies.
No, he's okay with threatening to kill babies.
Oh, okay.
He didn't actually follow through.
I guess.
But check this out though.
Yeah.
That statue.
Big
Um,
difference.
It was this is a little history thing. It was made by it was Michelangelo, right?
Yeah.
And he made it for the city of Florence because like the entire thing is it's like he's holding the stone that he's gonna like sling right at David, and he's like the way his gaze is designed to be like looking up at like Goliath, and it's all about the statue's all about like that underdog, the guy who just like he's outmatched by like tenfold, and yet he's walking in there like he's about to like just stomp it. He knows that he's gonna win.
Yeah.
And they felt like that spirit encapsulated Florence at the time, a city-state in Italy, where it's like it's only a city-state. They're a
Yeah.
sovereign city-state, but they believe that they can compete with like even like big empires at the time, like potentially like Holy Roman Empire. They're that underdog, but they're confident because they made a shitload of money in Florence. All
Yeah.
right, it cannot be undersold. That's probably why they were cocky as hell. But like,
Right.
so the lesson of the story is when you got a lot of money, it doesn't matter if you're a city-state. You can have big dreams and you can do stuff with it. But they had that statue. They had that statue David in like their like city center,
Mhm.
and we lost our graphic there.
This is the first time.
But
we're still working
yeah.
on that. Yeah.
They eventually moved it to some like mansion or something. I don't know what
Yeah,
they
yeah.
did after that point, but I've always loved that statue because it just like encapsulates the underdog story.
Well, but that's part of it too. Is to understand what's going on and why that mattered. You have to take the contextual history in. You
Mhm.
know, and all.
But before that, it was just some naked dude. I was like, it's a naked guy. See it in like history books. Be like, it's a naked guy.
Well, so and
I wouldn't appreciate it at all.
but that's almost the interesting part is you have to understand that all this back knowledge is what creates the context for why something's important, right?
Right.
And so then just go around devil's advocate here. The same way that we will, you can claim all day long that like a 4-year degree is useless because it doesn't give you the physical skills to do like a trade job, right? But what it does is it gives you this backstory. You've got this vast amount of knowledge that's crammed into your head about how things were, how they've been, essentially with the idea that you're not supposed to let history repeat itself. Because there's been some shit that went down that we don't want to do again. We're trying to avoid that, right?
Right. Okay.
That's the whole point. If you ignore it all and just start from square one and look at only the small part right here, like, yeah, there's a problem. We need to fix the sewers or
Right.
utilities, whatever, airplanes. All these things need to be fixed. But then you don't look at the bigger picture, the larger economy problems, whatnot. So like the idea is that this larger network of education should help things ultimately. But
Yeah, I think it's ultimately harming
it's
things.
it really.
I think that the
Yeah.
university system is it's been
it's been
it's been completely corrupted by super left crazy feminist wackos.
really
Absolutely.
I feel like I definitely,
Fucking
I'd
really?
be at, like,
Come at me.
come at you, bro. Yeah, what you got?
it depends on
No.
the school.
Yeah.
Well, of course it depends on the school to what extent it is, but
we're talking about Berkeley here, right?
There's some schools where like
that's the apex
here's
predator.
the thing, you totally could like I don't know, like
Yeah.
UC Berkeley. I mean,
Sac State's
Pa-
okay.
pass that right there over towards me. But so
it's like yeah, UC Berkeley. I mean, are you talking about like the free speech rally or not the rallies?
I'm
but, like,
talking
the,
about
like,
what they're
people who've been
teaching in the
shot?
classes because I've watched
Okay.
a lot of social science classes. I've watched a lot of people who have taken them,
Mhm.
and they're teaching like just retarded shit.
Okay.
And it's stuff like was it
wait, are we allowed to say that anymore?
I don't know. Well, I don't know.
Well,
Thanks
Tim's-
to
Tim's
them.
our-
No.
yeah, because
Tim's our guest. and we're-
no,
we're-
I'm just, yeah.
free speech, motherfucker.
On that note, it's like because you take an extremely progressive front, not your front, but some people will just stop right there. They're like, I don't want to hear anything else you have to say.
Right.
You just said retarded.
Right.
You're
Well,
not progressive enough.
here's the
You're not
thing.
listening to what's going on.
I'm not
It's,
It
gonna-
means that they're teaching the class slowly.
But anyway, yeah. Sorry. To,
I'm not gonna mince my words because
yeah.
somebody gets offended. I can't do that anymore. There's
No,
too much
well,
that's
yeah,
offensive.
I'm probably
You know?
offending somebody right now by
If I
calling this
accidentally
Coke.
call somebody who doesn't want to be called he or she, and I accidentally do it, it's a big
that
fucking
shit's
problem.
confusing.
It
these
is, and
days.
you know what? It's just fucking power plays is what it is. It doesn't actually hurt. Hey,
Right.
maybe some people. Hey, hashtag not all.
Is that
Let's
a
get
hashtag?
that.
I
let's
just
get
go
that
golden rule.
out of
I
the
just-
fucking way.
I just do the golden rule a bunch, like
Call 'em they.
if it's something that would bother me, I don't do it to people. Or I try. That's what
Right.
I get. That's what I use
Yeah,
all
but
the
nothing
time.
bothers me.
Nothing.
Well,
Well,
then you
there's
have to
one
use
thing that
empathy.
does,
Yeah,
but I'm not gonna
Mm.
tell anyone.
You have to use empathy. You'd be
I'll
like,
figure it
all
out.
right, in this situation, I wouldn't be bothered by it, but like, how much, like, how justified would they be if they would be like outraged by this? And most of the time, I feel like I can at least get close enough to like not offend people.
If somebody asks me to call them she and they look like, the mountain from Game of the Thrones, I'm gonna call them she. And that's not because I'm scared of them. I'll use a different
That
example.
might be part.
Not a good example.
Mm.
He's gonna pop my head
I
like
call
a
him
fucking
sir if you
pumpkin.
want me to. Yeah, right.
But you would do it out of respect.
But yeah, out of respect,
Yeah.
sure. If
Yeah.
someone
That's-
specifically expressed it to me,
Yeah, there
sure,
you go.
sure.
Right.
But talking to my friends and stuff, I'm gonna be like, come on, this guy,
Right.
he's a
But-
little funny. You
But
know?
if someone looks like the mountain from Game of Thrones, which I've never met, for the record, I've never met anyone who looks like the mountain from Game of Thrones.
There's only one of
Not
them.
even close.
my mailman
But-
looks like one.
No shit.
Nice.
Yeah, he's like 6'3".
Get their
He's not-
number in
he's
case
not-
you need a trial by combat like champion.
Yeah, I'll hit him
Be
up.
like, I need you to deliver me justice. But no, it's like if someone looks like the mountain and if
Yeah.
they get mad at you
Yeah.
for not calling them she and you had no idea, you were like not savvy at all to what like to their backstory or anything
Right.
like that. In that situation, I would just hope that they would understand when I say like, oh, you have to, I no bad intentions or anything. I didn't know. I think people should be understanding when people are not in the know as to like a certain
I
situation like
did
that.
this.
There's
I
just gotta be
was-
more understanding.
I was on a job in the Bay Area. What's the name of that center that I was in? But regardless, it was early in the morning, and I had been working like literally through the night, and I'm like, you know what? I need some food. So I went to this little like bagel shop, right? And I walk up, and I'm kind of a little tired, anyways. Mainly, I'm just looking to get some energy going.
Right.
And I see like the person behind the counter, and still, once again, I'm focused on this bagel sandwich that they got. And I'm like, let me get a bagel sandwich, let me get a pack of chips and 3 Red Bulls,
Oh wow.
like, let's go.
Yeah, that's quite the day.
it was,
you got
it was a
going.
bold day.
I've been there.
And I'm kind of just sitting there, and the person, to describe them, I don't know, a little taller than me, I'd say, like relative, kind of a like not super built person, but like an average build,
Okay.
short hair, bold jawline and all that. And so initially I'm just like, oh cool, thanks bro. And I looked at him, and like this person kind of like stared at me a little weird. And then I realized, and I looked again, I'm like, oh shit, I think that was a female. And like I just kind of slowly backed away. from the situation, realizing that on initial appearance, it's one thing, but then I may have made the wrong call.
Well, here's the thing, and this is a strategy that my brother developed,
Okay.
and he's been on the show before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Derek.
Derek was good.
But he used to call
Mr. Derek
people.
Neumann.
He'd say, "Oh yeah, how can I help you, ma'am?"
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
And he'd make it. So if they said, he'd make it sound like, oh, it's either man or ma'am.
Oh,
Right.
oh, he's clever.
They'd be like, "Did you call me ma'am?" And you're like, "No, I said man."
Ah, I like that.
So yeah,
Yeah.
you can hedge your bet with that.
Yeah, smart
That's
motherfucker.
great.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to say bro, and then
Yeah, you can't.
I can't backpedal
You could
that
say
one.
broad. You could finish it off. You could look up and be
Broad.
like, "Hey, broad."
I call
Did you
everyone
call
buddy.
me a broad?
I just call
No,
everyone
Dame,
buddy.
settle
No.
down. Like, let's
Settle down.
we can
Dame.
take it down to the 20s here. But yeah,
Have yourself a cigarette.
yeah, I mean, just be a doll over there and
Be a doll.
give me
light
another
up.
Red Bull.
Have a Virginia Slim. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a pretty clever one. I like
Yeah,
that.
You gotta be clever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's all sorts of trash going on in universities right now, and that's one of the reasons why I got out of the whole thing. It's I couldn't stand the people,
Mhm.
but I'm sure
Well, it's interesting 'cause
not
I-
all of them are bad, but there's the whole hating on white males, which I think is a
Yeah.
growing issue. Yeah, I said it.
It happens
There
a
we
lot.
go.
No, I'm not. I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
sighing because
I
you.
was like,
I'm
this is
sighing
what's
because-
happening on. That's gonna happen. They're gonna clip this,
Yeah.
and then they're gonna clip black people are disgusting. That you said. I don't know if we recorded.
That wasn't recorded.
That wasn't
Oh.
recorded. We could have let that go.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
That was
just,
a, it was a story. Now that's bad.
I thought we were
You know what?
live.
I know we weren't live. I should
Now
probably.
we-
Give the, I
now
gotta
we
give the backstory on
Yeah,
that
we gotta
one.
do backstory.
And now you need to give
Yeah,
context.
Context
I have to give
time.
context. So,
They're gonna clip all that and they're gonna fuck us up.
let's do some context.
Go for it.
It was an interesting story. So I had brunch earlier. Was that the other day?
Don't
And,
actually do it, Joe.
No, he's got to do the.
No, I have to do
you
the
gotta
story.
Provide context. It's
yeah, no, it's better to do the story
We can
because
just cut
otherwise,
this.
yeah. No, we can't
It's
cut.
not
I
even
don't cut.
It's a docile. You guys are hyping it up like it's this like.
Yeah,
it's,
it was-
it's
it's
a
a
docile
It's a
story.
Seinfeld
seriously.
episode.
It's
You're
a
hanging out
it
at
actually-
you're having
yeah,
lunch.
I'm having lunch.
I'm
yeah.
a huge social justice warrior,
Yeah,
and,
no,
and
yeah.
I can tell you right now, it has my stamp.
You're
It's a
talking
docile
about a
story.
racist person.
Yeah.
You're talking
I'm
about a racist
I'm
person.
describing
Everyone knows
how
you're a
the
huge
racist
racist,
person would
Yeah.
act, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to give a context to the story. I'm like, the shit that she would say, and I'm running through my mind. I'm like, what's the most like overtly stupid racist thing I
Right.
could say? And I'm like, she would say stuff like, black people are gross.
Yeah.
And just at that moment,
A black guy walked by.
Black guy walked
Yeah.
by, and I'm like, oh fucking
Yeah.
Christ.
It's the
Of all-
classic
yeah.
It's some
Seinfeld.
Curb
You
Your
know?
Yeah, it's
Enthusiasm
a
stuff.
Seinfeld
Yeah.
episode.
I feel like that would be a Curb Your Enthusiasm, and then you would like get up and you'd be like, "I didn't mean, I wasn't talking."
Right,
and
They'd
then,
be like, "Oh yeah."
and the
sure.
guy wouldn't
Backpedaling
care.
it,
It would
yeah,
turn out the
it's-
guy was like he
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
even like listening, but you would like overly explain yourself. and
Well,
then
no, it's because I looked over. I'm like, oh fucking Jesus! Like, if there's timing that can ever be had, that was. It's no way to.
It's.
Are you
Yeah.
sure you're not in a sitcom?
I'm
You're right.
lucky.
You can't even write that shit.
because I just kind of talk about whatever comes on my mind,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I've never had a Seinfeld moment like that. Well,
That's the recent one. I'm sure I've had many more. I just
I
can't.
don't know.
Think of
I don't
one.
have a Seinfeld moment that I remember.
Ah,
Where you
even
say
better.
something out of context,
Yeah.
and somebody hears it
Yeah.
and gets mad at you. I don't know. I don't think I've ever been through that in real life.
I don't know.
Just
Those are
now.
mad- yeah. Just the. Well, all right.
Definitely
so
not
we-
gonna go digging for
let's
that.
let's fucking yeah. You know what? Before anything else stupid comes out, we'll just call this one good. Yeah. Okay, you know.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
So the synopsis is universities suck.
Universities suck. Timing will always be bad when you aren't ready for it. Shit happens. I don't know.
Will Willie discover what to do with his college degree?
Oh, yeah,
Probably
hang
not.
on.
Find
Yeah.
out
Oh yeah,
next-
yeah, okay,
hang on.
yeah. We might-
He never. You got one
do a
history
fa-
fact.
Oh well, no,
I still got
Gave him
$5
$5.
on him.
Here's
Yeah, I
the
got
thing.
5 history facts. Let's go.
no, I'm not gonna give you a history fact. I'm gonna give you my side of the
You already
debate.
dished out the David story.
I
so
haven't
there's
even
one.
like really even
That's
laid out
one.
my
That's
defense.
one. We got
Because
4
here's
more.
the thing: is I'm actually like I'm a huge proponent of the colleges. I'm a huge proponent of people
Yeah.
should only go to college if that's what they want to do, and they should understand if that's right for them. Like it's kind of like Viagra. You should talk to your doctor before you try it.
Before college.
You should get some
Yeah,
experts.
so I'm
you should
thinking
get
about
some.
going to this 4-year university place where they're gonna put. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's a good bit. But no, it's like, in my personal opinion, I'm a big fan of the community college university path, because a lot of kids, even when if you are 18 years old and think you have a major that you want to go towards, there's still a really good chance you're going to realize that's not what you want to do.
Yeah.
So that's why I pretty much, like, my default, like, my strategy for, like, how to do higher education properly is always start at the junior college level, because 2 reasons. 1, it's cheaper.
Gotcha.
It's cheaper. You get more grants. You're more likely to get grants. And the second is, from what I've seen at the universities in the entry level courses, that's where they try to, like, that's where they have the professors who are maybe less tenured. They have less experience, and they're younger and newer. And actually, I can say that we had a controversial moment in at Sac State. It wasn't like a super left, like, professor, but our problem was, it was a professor who he got in trouble for saying that, like, there was no, like, Native American genocide on the Western Hemisphere, like, and that's which is like
that sounds kind of like bullshit.
No, they're
right.
I mean, like, it fits the only argument that you can make that there wasn't Native American genocide on the Western Hemisphere is because the term hadn't been invented, like, when it was happening.
Yeah,
which is stupid, because it was because of shit like that. That's why the term was invented. But the point was, he got in a bunch of but it's like, professors at that level are often, like, less experienced, just in a lot of regards, and so you might even get a curriculum that's just not well hashed out yet. So like, for people, you're probably going to spend more money for a less, like, tried out, at least. That's the only thing I can speak in certainty is, it's like, you're probably less likely to get a professor who's like, actually, like, you know, they've got a PhD, they've taught before for X amount of years. I mean, a lot of those professors do teach those entry level courses, but what's really great about the community college system is, like, the standards are raising and raising. It's like master's degrees aren't even safe to get you a job anymore at the community college level. Like, most of the history teachers that were new, in my experience, they had to have their PhD in order just to compete.
Really?
And in a community college?
At the community college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's competitive. In history, at least at the history level. That's the only thing I can say. In history, it's a different ballgame in other departments. But I would say that the best professors that I had in my entire, like, bachelor, I had some great ones at Sac State, but I think I would say that my best professors were at American River College. Shout out to Callahan, Professor Callahan.
Right.
I really enjoyed my time at American River.
Yeah.
When I was taking that physics. I was doing my general ed over there, and it was a blast. There was a lot. There's a philosophy teacher that was not a huge fan of me.
Right.
It was the free will question.
Oh,
ever tell you about that?
Yeah. Well, so
it's been a topic of
I
one
don't
of our
recall that
episodes.
one offhand, but
Oh,
so, but yeah, how did it go? Yeah, what was?
All right, so he asked me, or he's asking the class, is free will real?
Right.
And I think most people are on the free will bandwagon.
Yeah.
That's because that's what the world feels like, right?
Yeah.
It feels like we're making decisions. It feels like,
for the most part, I
we're in
like to think
control.
the things I do make an effect on my future. Yeah.
well, that's not the right way to think about it, though.
Okay.
Because the things you do take an effect on your future. But did
Right.
you decide to do those things? That's what I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
And he, I said no.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was kind of just trolling. But
Well, 'cause it's a little
the more
fun
I had to
you
research
stir the pot in those. Yeah.
I agree with that statement now.
Mm-hmm.
And he started asking me, well, what do you want to do with criminals then? Because
Right.
you don't even believe in free will. They're not responsible for their actions. And I'm like, yeah, technically they're not. And he said that, well, then you can't put them in jail. You can't punish them. Like, yeah, well, I can.
You still can, yeah.
And the way I put it is when you run a virus scan, the computer's not angry at the virus. It doesn't. The virus wasn't responsible for its actions. The computer's not responsible for its actions.
Mm-hmm.
But it still cleared up the problem, right?
Yeah. It put the virus essentially
Put
in
the
jail.
virus,
Yeah.
quarantine or
Quarantined
deleted
it,
it, whatever
yeah.
it is.
Does whatever it's got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, that's just kind of like how society works.
Well, yeah, you still have to go through the motions, whether or not there's where you put the assignment of blame.
Right.
The fact is, you can't stop following the motions.
Yeah. Because ultimately, it doesn't really matter if free will existed in the criminal case or not.
Well, but the thing is it's almost a philosophical question of whether or not free will exists or whether it's perceived free will, right? Which is what you're saying. It's
Right.
we perceive to have free will.
It
We
seems
don't
like
have it.
Right.
But I mean, you can argue that even on a more micro level, which would be the fact that you can say that everything that we do, even to the point, there was a point where I was selecting subjects for this show, right?
Yeah.
And I stepped back and I realized how I was choosing the subjects were almost quite literally, I'd watch like an episode of Vsauce or something like that on
Oh,
YouTube.
yeah.
And then the next day I'd be like, Willie, I got an idea for an episode. Like, we should talk about this. And I realized it was the same shit that I watched Michael from Vsauce
Yeah,
talk about.
It all came from somewhere else.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all a remix. Like, there's always
Yeah.
a cue that causes a thought train, you know? And so that's what I was doing. And I'm like, well, is it really even my idea? Like, the same way that we can talk about that one is, like, you see on Fox News, something gets broadcast, and then a few minutes later, a Twitter post by good old Mr. Trump happens to do with
something happens,
something. Yeah,
yeah.
it's like a cause and effect. There's always a cause and effect. And so I realized
Yeah.
I was doing that same shit. And it's like you have to step back and it's like, where are you really in control in that sense?
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, I'm reacting, but it's just because of the input.
Yeah, and
It's an input-output
I think if
situation.
you look hard enough, it becomes really, really difficult to actually find something that seems like an original thought.
Right.
It's all derivative of something, and your personality is derivative.
Yeah.
Your experiences are technically derivative. And it's just like, all right, well, I guess.
It's big chemical reaction.
And it
essentially,
kind of
that's going
seems
on.
like
Yeah.
dominoes to me.
Well,
Yeah.
if we say there's no free will, though, then it's like it seems like we have no influence over like where we're going. But the way I see it, it's kind of like guiding a ship. It's like very big. It's like hard to kind of steer, but you do ultimately the captain steers where the ship's going, but he's relying on the wind, so he's relying on a bunch of external factors
Yeah.
to like get him going. But I guess the whole point of that metaphor is just to say that, like, in my personal opinion, there's very little free will. It's over exaggerated how much free will there is, but we do have like influence, but we're like constantly under so many external forces that it's like we have to learn how to master those external forces, and our ability to react to those external forces I think actually gives people more agency over their lives.
And it sounds like the worldviews couldn't be different, more different.
Oh, like ours?
Yeah,
ours,
ours, yeah.
Oh no, yeah,
I would disagree like entirely. You barely have any control. And
That's weird.
if you even do have any
Really?
control at all.
Well, but so the question, if I were to throw this in just to fuck it all up,
right, we're gonna find a middle ground.
maybe,
All right.
maybe. But this is almost it's more of a question. I don't have an answer here. It's a question. But when you are saying that you're the captain of a ship, that's you can't steer it exactly, but it's gonna start at this harbor and it's gonna end at that harbor, and kind of the in between, you're just like working to get it there, and that's all random. But what causes you in your mind to make that decision to steer one way or another?
Oh, pre-existing conditions before that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm reacting to those.
You're reacting to pre-existing conditions, and if those conditions had changed, your reaction would be different.
It's kind of like.
Therefore, that's kind of what's.
Would you
that's
say it's
this
kind of
big
like a choose your own adventure, where it's like you flip to the next page
No,
and you have like.
Because when you're choosing your own adventure, you're trying to use your current experience to choose the correct path in the next page. It's all based upon something that happened
But
prior.
you're
You could
picking,
probably
you're
sit somebody
operating
down.
on like an amusement park, like rails. It's an on the rail adventure.
Right, but so what I would state, let's say you've got this choose your adventure, right? I'm going to take Willie, I'm going to put him in a room with this book,
Right.
and I know his history. So I'm
Okay.
going to read through and knowing his thought pattern, I'm going to be like, I'll bet you anything, when it comes to choice A, he's going to choose B, right?
Okay.
Mhm.
And then when it comes to the next choice, number 2, he's going to choose choice A. Like he's going to, this is his path,
Yeah.
right? Because it can all be calculated back, right?
But there's always variables that you wouldn't account for.
Yeah. But those are variables that weren't accounted for. If they could be accounted for, you could
Mhm.
predict everything, right?
That's like the entire goal
so.
of pretty
Yeah,
much
right?
a bunch of sciences is just to nail all those independent variables in any
You're trying to nix the
situation.
variables.
Account
You're
for every
always trying to
variable.
like yeah.
Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you be able to? I mean, you could basically tell the future. If
Yeah,
you could-
theoretically,
yeah.
if you could account for essentially where every molecule is
If it's
now,
all dominoes.
and you
Yeah.
followed
Yeah.
through like literally the velocity and the change of every molecule, every air, which it's exhausting.
But it's so
It's a
ecological.
crazy
it's so
idea.
yeah,
connected.
theoretically can't be done.
It's
but
hard to account for the independent variables because they're often connected in ways that we just can't.
Right.
it's
Yeah,
so
they're
hard-
confounding. But yeah,
Because I'm a huge ecologist, I guess you can say. I'm
Okay.
big on like in order to understand something, you have to understand how
Yeah.
they're all connected with each other. And I
Right.
think that's something that we need to do more with history. Is we need to like contextualize the past more by just kind of like looking more at just like what's going on there.
yeah.
But with that in mind, it's. I mean, even though history is not like a scientific course, like in the course of learning how history is done, I've realized that like the harder sciences is just it's so nuts what they do. Just constantly accounting for
STEM science.
variables. Yeah, it's just because
Physics.
I mean, history's got its
Kinda
own
crazy,
disciplines.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. There's this one seminar course that I did in my history degree program where we read this book that was just talking about what history is, like not like the actual events, but like how you do history. And this
Right.
guy's like, he really likes to hear himself talk, like even more than myself. But
Yeah.
it's cool because he was comparing history with like with the harder science, like physical sciences, and then like with social sciences and stuff. And it's just like they have things in common, and yet they like bicker over like the most fundamental ways of just like interpreting information. But
Huh.
that's all like super sexy information. I don't even know how we got there.
Super sexy.
super
Yeah.
sexy
That's-
physics.
Super sexy. That's Vsauce.
Independent
right there.
variables.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
how we
If you're
got
gonna
here.
get anywhere.
You know, he's all right. He's an all right guy.
Dude, the guy,
Oh, Michael and Vsauce.
Oh,
yeah.
Michael with
Vsauce
this is
Michael
one
here.
thing that I know it's completely veering
Just
and
right
pulling
off
this,
the trail here. That's
Just
all right.
But nonetheless, it's the fact that I've become such a fan of people who can take subjects like physics and whatnot, make it palatable to the millions, to the masses. Like I think that's a good thing in society.
Michael from Vsauce could teach physics to an 8-year-old.
Yeah, I think he does.
Well, here's the thing.
Right?
Probably
man.
would be
It's
the
like,
best
Yeah,
to teach it.
it's
to
impressive.
I hate the the science. What would you call them?
the science.
Like the like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye.
Really?
Neil,
Yeah.
right? Neil
You
deGrasse.
don't like
he's-
that?
No.
No.
He's
so I'm
gone.
a
He's
huge
gone
fan
the
of
deep
that.
end a different way than Bill Nye has. Although I haven't given.
Bill Nye went.
I haven't given up
cynical.
on either. Like Bill Nye, like
Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
watched his newest show. I
It's
have no
a little depressing,
opinions
actually.
on like
Don't- I-
all that business.
Yeah.
It's I know that
it's
he went
sad.
about it
Yeah.
different. He went about that show differently than he did his other show. It like
Right. Well, we had to. You can't reinvent the wheel the same way.
But,
You can't do it
dude,
again.
You can't.
Here's what I do know. It's
I
Neil
would
deGrasse
say there was a
Tyson.
market for that.
Neil deGrasse
Probably
Tyson's
is.
I would've
gotten out of
watched it.
I would. Yeah, I would have watched it if it was Bill Nye
Yeah.
right over again. Would have watched it. Sorry. Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson's gotten out of control.
Absolutely. He needs
Yeah.
to
On
rein it in,
Twitter.
dude. He's
Well,
he's
he's
going
just-
nuts on there.
He's
going
being
off.
that insufferable know-it-all. Like
He's-
it's weird. I have
Oh,
no
yeah,
idea.
that's
it
right.
seems
He's
so
calling
unlike him because
people
he
out on
always seemed
stupid
cool. You know, he seemed always like
Yeah.
a really down to earth kind of like, or at least when
Well,
I first
because it used to
got
be this
into it, maybe
fun.
that
Here's
was
a
never.
fact. But now
Yeah.
it's like somebody will say
He's
something. He's
the,
like, "Did you know
He's
that's
the-
wrong because of this?" And it's like, oh,
It's a
no,
Twitter
actually
persona. It's a
occurred.
weird Twitter persona.
Yeah.
he's
the
like
fedora tipping atheist.
Oh,
He
he
does
does wear a
suck
fedora
stuff.
too.
He goes, what was it? Oh, happy day somebody didn't come back from the dead, for Easter. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
okay.
like,
Yeah, we all know.
Yeah.
All right.
We just don't care.
Yeah. Just
just let it go.
everybody have
Yeah.
their fun.
Yeah.
We know
Don't-
there's not a rabbit
Don't
in the
ruin
colored
things
eggs.
for people.
Yeah.
Let people enjoy things.
Santa's not real. Okay.
We get it.
Get it.
You don't have to
Okay.
physics it out for us. We all know.
Let's chill out.
it's just like
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. Like I think he should be able to do that. It disappoints me that he does do that because he markets himself.
What's
His
the
job.
golden
He's
rule?
a spokesperson. It's
Just
science,
because
science
you can.
communicator. That's what I
He's-
wanted to say. They're like
he's-
science communicators.
Yeah, because they make it.
He's the spokesperson for
Well,
science.
they make it palatable to the
And
masses.
everybody's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
they see it on I fucking love science on Facebook, and they're like, oh wow, it's so fucking profound.
Right.
So then what he's doing is he's making
14-year-old
like
me just-
atheists. He's making atheists look bad. He's making atheists look bad. He's making people who are
Atheists
involved,
just
heavily
look bad,
involved.
to be frank. I'm an atheist.
As
and
a
they
mass,
just
they
look bad.
do look bad. It
Just-
sucks.
yeah,
it's
it's-
like you got to be a little more humble.
It's terrible.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Ooh, they need a
17-year-olds
PR
who-
person or
Yeah.
20
Yeah.
or 1,000 or so
Yeah.
PR people. Like, yeah, it's just not a good scene.
We're not like arrogant, anti-theists who are not like huge militant anti-theist guys. Yeah, they need more spokespeople.
Well,
like
it's
that.
not even the huge anti-theist because I was a huge Christopher Hitchens fan, and he was a huge
Right.
anti-theist. He was a dick.
No, he
Mm.
was an asshole, but he's.
But
he's, is it British or is he?
he is
English?
British.
Yeah, he's
so
British.
You kind
It,
of.
therefore, when he says
expect
shit, it's funny. Yeah.
Besides that, the whole fedora tipping, YouTube or Facebook atheist kid who just discovered that God might not be real, and he's telling like, dude,
Didn't know.
He's
He's
probably
so
just
smarter than
angry
you.
that he had to go to church.
And he doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
You're still 17. Hey, I don't care if you have all the facts of the universe laid out in front of you and you're 17. You're still gonna be a dumbass.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
You know,
it's part of the age group. Like, you got a lot of shit to go through to understand, you
to
know?
understand anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't
One-
even know what life is like at all.
Fuck, man. That's the craziest part, though, is that yet we consider what, at 17, 18, you're an adult, right?
Right.
But
But you're not.
at 18, I
You're
was
not.
a dumb fuck.
You're not an adult.
Right?
I mean, I knew a lot when I was 17, but
Yeah.
in relative, I was still a dumb fuck though.
There was
Yeah, no.
was a massive lack of experience that we held
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
at the age 18, 17, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like I feel like based on the experience I had, I could articulate myself reasonably. However, there was a lot of things that I would just say that you would be like, oh, he lacks experience. Like, of course he thinks that.
Oh, yeah, that's...
I'm still saying them, these to this day. And people, who are wiser and older, they'll be like, oh, as soon as he's like older, he'll realize he's being totally like dumb right now, or like just ill experience. No,
I guess that doesn't really go away until you die.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's how you beat it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really beat up like on like 17-year-olds for not knowing much, because we all like lack experience in certain ways,
God, I do,
and we can
though.
all
really?
benefit from
Absolutely.
humbling ourselves. I think we can all benefit from
A
humbling
cocky
ourselves.
17-year-old
Oh,
who thinks
dude,
he
I-
knows what they're talking about. Take this David Hogg kid.
David.
The
the
anti-gun kid.
anti-gun guy. All right,
I
yeah.
don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
I haven't watched.
What's funny
any
is
of
because
his.
the only thing that I've seen about that guy,
This is
And
this.
I-
this
and I-
thing?
yeah,
He's doing that. It's super cringy.
no,
I
I,
was like,
I didn't see that, but it does make sense. All right, because
Ah.
he's making a point. All right, and we understand he's young,
Right.
but you do have to respect and give him the floor because his friend did just die. Like,
I guess. Do
Yeah.
you though?
it's- well,
Because your
yeah,
friend
if-
died.
well, yeah, you went
That's
to-
not
well,
why
who-
you should give him the floor, Joe.
Who's in charge of giving
No,
floors?
I would
Like,
say
that's a
that
big-
if you have anybody who's
whoever gave him the floor, that's probably their like
No,
sovereign
I'd-
right to give him a
I'd
floor.
say
Bunch of-
That's
legitimate,
the way
yeah.
I view it.
It's if you're gonna take anybody, right? There's a problem, and it affected especially a very select few people, right?
Yeah.
You should probably listen to the people that it did affect.
Do you though? Especially in something this traumatic, can you take the person who is there in a traumatic situation and trust that they're going to be able to view this situation rationally?
Well,
They should have a right
You
to.
should-
They
you
should
should
have a right
underst-
to voice it. But you should
Yeah.
just
Everyone's
take
got a
that
right
into
to voice.
consideration.
Yeah, you should
But-
have. You should
But
also
should you really take this as like, oh, this is the
Don't
de
take it-
facto?
don't take it as golden word,
Yeah.
but do
You should never
take
take
what
one
they say
perspective
into
as
account.
golden.
Is what I would say, right?
I guess.
You know, if
I mean, people who are in traumatic situations I do not think are the best people to ask about those situations.
because we know how the human brain works and it's fucked up.
Yeah, it
Right.
doesn't. It's, well,
So,
human,
like, it's
human
been- it's
beings are,
malleable, yeah.
are barely rational actors.
Right.
They
Right.
You have to be thinking about it to be rational.
Mhm.
It's an active,
You
tiring process.
constantly you have to constantly check yourself.
And some
Right.
dude getting shot at, that doesn't that doesn't help your cognitive
No,
process.
but it does nonetheless give you an experience, right?
Okay.
And so if there is something that's going to affect it, like for example, you take and you want to talk to somebody experienced in some sort of field, right?
Okay.
You don't go to an airplane mechanic and say, "Oh, I'm looking for a microchip replacement," because
Yeah.
it's just they've never dealt with it, right? So now, if you're looking for an opinion on what it's like to go through some sort of traumatic gun experience,
Sure.
you go to the guy who
been
survived.
through a
Yeah, he
traumatic
went through it. You know,
Gun experience. Sure.
granted, you look at it through the filter that it was traumatic, but you do have to listen. Like you should take that as a point of view.
Right,
and-
but he's trying to dictate policy. That guy's 17.
He's trying to influence policy.
He's just,
like,
he's a super firebrand too. Like if you want firearms to be legal, you are endorsing the murder of children. And this guy's a cunt. To be frank, he survived the shooting.
right.
Good on him.
Good, yeah, good on him. You know, you got lucky.
I'm
it
glad. I
happens,
wish
you know.
nobody got hurt.
Yeah, yeah,
that'd
you-
be the best
know-
case scenario.
of
But
course,
this dude's
yeah.
a dick.
why is he a dick? Was he so? Is it's just because he's supporting gun control? He's a dick,
Gun control? Abso-fucking-lutely, he's a dick if he supports gun control.
dude. That's like I feel like that almost is kind of anti-free speech. I mean, I
What do
wouldn't
you
get.
mean anti? I could call him a cunt.
You can. I
You
mean,
can.
you're using
That's
free
free
speech,
speech.
but
That's a free speech,
that's
yeah.
a dick move. I'm gonna call you out then. Fine,
Call
I'll
me
use my
out.
own free speech. Yeah,
Call me
I
what
think
you
you're a
think.
dick for calling that guy a cunt.
All right. And
Yeah.
What a wonderful world we live in.
It is
as long as
beautiful.
Got
firearms,
dicks and cunts.
See, I feel better. It's great because
remain
calling you a
prevalent.
dick, I feel better already.
Yeah, yeah.
My drink's
but-
been empty for like 5 minutes, but I
Yeah,
feel
well,
good.
I get you.
I
more
got I
now.
got my buzz already. I'm
You're
Yeah.
good to go. Your
I
show's
called
on.
him out.
But
But yeah, it's I mean, you can call me out, but I'm living by the rules that I set for myself. You know,
Right.
I'm not breaking those rules.
I think it's good that he's involved with the political process,
I
and as long as he
disagree
doesn't use
entirely.
violence. I mean,
Right.
here's the thing: is if he sways people, like, isn't that the economy of ideas working?
Well, here's the thing: is that if he sways people in the economy of
The
ideas,
free market- I mean, the
results
free
in
market of
in
ideas.
the banning of firearms, then no, it's not a good thing. In
I
my
guess he had a
opinion.
persuasive argument then.
Sure, he may have, but people are they're easily driven on fear and lies. We've been over that,
right.
and he's a peddler of fear and lies, and it's because he came out of fear, and that
Right.
Shoot,
that I can fucking
dude,
stand
fear
that.
and lies are selling well in this in this
I agree.
political climate.
I agree
like,
entirely,
So
but I don't
maybe-
think
maybe
that.
that's a right
that
avenue to
one-
go.
Well, it's the right avenue to go if you want to win, I suppose, but it's not good for us. I think that behavior needs to be called out
Right.
because if we allow fear to dictate our decisions,
It's massive. Well, see, that's the big one. Is because I've always been such a or no, not a proponent. What's the word here? But the idea is that when you have an argument,
right?
you should not use emotion to win your
I
argument.
agree.
You
but-
should. It should be purely based on factual evidence.
That
and nothing
ultimately, that's what these arguments are based on, are emotion.
Oh,
They're not
massively
based
now.
on facts.
Right. Which is a huge thing. We got this that's the clickbaity shit that's going on,
Yeah.
where you are explaining, oh, things are terrifying, it's scary, it's blah blah blah.
And school mass shootings are an incredibly interesting crime to focus on, aren't they?
Right. Well,
Especially
lately,
for like
yeah.
big movements,
Mhm.
because they're really, if you look at the percentage of murders, they're nothing.
It's
Right,
a
not hey,
fraction of
people
a
die.
hit,
I'm not gonna walk up to a cancer patient and say, if he's like 25, he's got cancer. I'm gonna be like, hey, don't worry. Most people your age don't get cancer.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
but-
not gonna say that because there's people who have actually survived or been through or
Yeah.
been killed in these things.
Well, but you look.
But
at
if you look at gun crime in general,
well,
assault weapons,
well, we just
almost
look at,
nothing.
well, how many people
death-wise.
die in car accidents on a daily basis?
Well, I don't know.
You know,
More than
I don't know,
97,
yeah. I guarantee you, it's
which is
more
the
than
number that firearms kill
per year, right?
per 97
Yeah.
per day.
Oh, is it per day?
Yeah.
No, for fire. Let's
For
focus in on-
cars, it's probably more than.
But yeah,
97.
I
I
mean,
think it's like
I-
40,000 a year.
without a fraction of guilt or anything, I would say no. There's
right,
more
right.
than
And the
97
argument
per
you get
day.
is, well, cars are used for something else, but I don't know.
Well,
It doesn't really work for me. Cars are also not a right.
right. No, it's a privilege.
And the Second
That's
Amendment
which is an interesting one. Yeah. So
But if there were cars around, would there be an amendment? If there were cars around at the time of the drafting of the Constitution, would there have been some kind of mentioning?
it's pure speculation. I have no idea.
Yeah, probably
Yeah,
not.
it's
Probably
pure-
not, to
no,
be honest.
no,
There's just no
that's a
place.
good
In my
question.
opinion, there's no place for it.
There was
but-
a lot of things around at the time that they didn't mention in the Constitution.
Yeah.
Arms they found
I'm-
to be one that they wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Why is it? And it's just
I mean-
purely throwing a question
Oh,
out,
it's people-
especially for a history
Well,
major, because
yeah,
you still
no,
owe me 4
Lexington-
facts.
Why were Lexington
So-
and Concord fought? Those were the first battles in the American Revolution. They were fought because the British were literally coming to take their weapon stores away, and they were like, "Well, they're either going to take them away or we're going to kill them." I'll give you a hint which one happened. There was a battle. That's
Yeah.
why, and that's the reason why there's an amendment in the Bill of Rights.
Right.
This was why, and the Bill of Rights was necessary for the Constitution to even be passed in the first place.
Yeah.
There's one that says that soldiers can't come into your home and be like, "Yo, I'm crashing on your couch. Where's the Bud Light at?" Because that happened.
Wait,
The
what
British did that. The British
Yeah,
did
yeah,
that to
no,
the
I-
colonists. That's
okay,
Amendment
so
number 3, the one that no
this-
one talks about because it's kind of useless.
You can't be like compelled to.
It's not a
offer-
problem.
What is the Third Amendment?
Third Amendment's
Yeah.
the No Quartering Act, basically.
That's okay, because I do recall one where I thought it does state that you do not have to house a soldier, right?
Yeah, I think that's number
Yeah.
3. We looked
That's
at
number
that
3?
in Avid the other day
Cool, because
because we were like, they were like, "What's Amendment
10
3?" And I'm
years.
like, "I don't know. It's probably that one that
one
we
that
don't
nobody
really,
uses
the one that
anymore?
nobody
Yeah.
cares or disputes over." But yeah, no, it's
Well, yeah,
So-
because it's so easy to be like, and and everyone's gonna agree. Yeah, some National Guard guy comes up to you like, hey, we have to use your house.
So let's
And you're gonna say no.
honestly, I'd be like, "Come
That's an
on,
easy
come
one.
on
Here's-
in,
here's
man.
one,
You
though,
wanna
is
listen to
why
some
was-
James Brown dog?"
and I've never thought about it this way until this moment. But doesn't which one's the one that talks about privacy, the right to privacy?
That was an interpretation. I think that was like interpreted from the preamble of the Constitution. I don't
Which is
actually.
not the Fifth Amendment.
It might, actually, you know what? Fifth Amendment. I'm probably.
Is that where you're allowed to to be secure in your papers and travel and whatnot. And
Let's see.
Is that what it
here.
says?
What did they eventually like?
I don't have them. I don't have them down.
I'm
by
not a
heart.
history
crap.
major. I'm a fucking plane mechanic.
I don't teach government yet. But shoot, I think Miranda rights came from Amendment
Hey,
5,
Jamie.
right?
Jamie, go ahead and pull. up
Yeah,
the,
Ja-
Yeah,
Young
God, we need
Jamie.
Jamie so bad right now.
But no, so my
But
no
what's your
person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand
Impressment,
jury,
yeah.
except in the case arising in land or naval forces or in the militia when actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject to the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. It's kind of long.
that's
There's-
that's
Damn,
I don't think we
old
got the
English.
no privacy clause.
That wasn't out of that.
No, so
I
well,
think because I know the only thing I know about privacy was that was interpreted in Roe v. Wade.
let me
Wow,
get the
really,
point
was
across
it?
real quick.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the
yeah,
whole, that's where the whole
let's
no
finish with
The
this
original,
portion.
the original thought process
Yeah.
here was that Amendment 3 that talks about not housing a soldier.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be covered under like the right to privacy?
they
I don't
wanted
know.
to
I don't
explicit,
have the
they
right to
wanted
keep
to
my door closed.
explicitly said the Bill of Rights was all about explicitly saying
So-
things to leave no room for interpretation.
know
They
this-
wanted it
okay.
in writing,
And I
that you
know this is
can't
a
let-
Pandora's box,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
Yeah, let's
so
do
we
it.
have and it's an entire amendment devoted to not housing a soldier,
Yeah,
which is literally the most useless amendment. In
Is
this day
it
and-
though? Hey,
It
I
wasn't
haven't
at
had
the
to
time.
house
It
any
was-
soldiers.
I haven't either, but I've never
no,
had
that was
this
a
challenge.
cause of the that was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
cause of the American
Yeah,
Revolution.
right.
yeah,
but
yeah.
but so the question is like we talk about all these laws. Like there's a law in I don't know, Alabama, or says something about it's illegal to have a pet alligator,
Right.
right? Or it's
Oh,
illegal
yeah.
to jump in puddles.
Yeah,
That's
the
a state
blue
law.
book.
So
Yeah,
that's a
there's a
state law.
shitload of laws that are unnecessary, and it just adds to this muddle, right?
Yeah, okay.
So, in purely like a idea farm here, would it be a bad thing to just delete that amendment?
Well, there are people
That
who are
sounds-
trying
that
to.
sounds
Probably, yeah.
I,
Yeah,
think
it sounds-
I wouldn't.
well,
Like I'm a gun
or just-
control guy. I wouldn't
right.
go for. I wouldn't go after the Second Amendment.
No, I'm not saying
because-
second. I'm not
Oh,
saying
okay,
second. I'm
okay,
saying
my
the
bad,
third
my
one,
bad.
the one that nobody
Oh.
even worries about.
Yeah, I think that you can't those when it comes to laws
Yeah.
that I hate, it's the fact that laws now are they're 600 fucking pages. They're
Right.
War and Peace, and they're
Right.
not simply writ that the public can understand them.
No, they're very.
And
yeah.
that's a big fucking problem.
It seems. Yeah. Right.
The Constitution is written it's
well, it
supposed
was
to be written
It was
in
written
a way that the public can understand.
back when we all spoke that same way.
Yeah, but when you look at
Yeah.
contextually how people spoke back then,
Yeah.
it a lot of people bring up the Second Amendment and they're like, oh, you have to be in a well-regulated militia to have guns, but that's not what that means.
we have this.
at
So
all.
that's the problem.
That,
is now,
they're not talking about that
just
at
because
all.
language has changed. Language
regulated
evolves.
didn't mean government regulated.
Right, but
Yeah.
so language evolves over time.
Yeah, it
Therefore,
changes.
wouldn't it be smart actually to update your laws? with
The amendments are the updated.
Yeah,
that's
when,
how you
when
do
were
it,
they?
though.
When were the amendments made?
A
Well,
long time
we
ago.
passed an amendment like in the last.
Well, the ones we're
couple
talking about.
Yeah, the ones. Yeah.
Oh, the Bill of Rights. So that's you're
It's a
talking.
long
All
time
right.
ago.
So the Bill of Rights. So that's like they're not laws. These are protections. These are
Gotcha.
like.
So
There's a
my
difference
question
between-
being,
there's a big difference though between rights,
my question being is when those were written,
yeah.
they were written when the language that we spoke was contextually
What's different? Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
So would it
And
be?
that's why we
how-
have guns today.
How would
Because
we
if
go
you-
about? How would we go about updating these to the contextual?
You don't.
They're
just leave it.
updated over time. They're
Yeah, well,
updated.
you
The
don't-
courts. No,
you
the
don't
court
update it,
system.
though.
No, the courts. That's the entire point of the court system is to basically interpret the law.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean updating. That means interpreting.
Interpreting
Interpretations
is
can
updating.
Constantly
change, but
interpret, yeah.
We
you're
live in
trying
a
to get to the
precedent.
most pure form of interpretation. You're not
Mhm.
trying to update it for the modern day. You
So
know, you're
updating
trying.
it to the modern day means that you're like conforming to like a modern standards, right?
I would disagree.
No,
I don't.
that's-
I
yeah,
don't. I
no,
don't
that's
think
not
we
how
should
they do it
update to the modern.
There
day.
is no modern standards. You would
Yeah.
agree with that?
Absolutely.
Any modern standards that somebody would like behold or like declare would be arbitrary and
Yeah.
conceived by
Well,
probably.
that
Right,
that
so-
was my point
so-
with the
yeah.
so
so that's
they-
why
That's-
you have to
This is
view
the
it
big
as
conundrum,
interpreting.
though. So if you can't update it, how can you interpret it safely?
Well, you can interpret
put-
it based upon what you think that they meant, and
But
you
next
can
week
use
could be a
external
different-
writings,
So literally week to week, it could be a different interpretation. That's
and
kind
that's
of
what happens.
which is
Well, I
currently
mean,
what happens.
just look at
yeah.
it like this: the
It's a
right to
little
bear
scary,
arms
though,
shall
right?
not be infringed.
Right.
Right. There's more to that. With the the well-regulated militia,
Right.
which does not mean government regulated.
Right.
On the context of the time, it has nothing to do with government at all.
No, I never said that.
And
Well,
it's like,
like
you
a
should be able to
state,
have
right?
militias and
Okay.
arms.
Yeah.
Not you need to be in a militia to have arms, but
That's,
it
and
has
and
nothing to do
or
with
are two
that. But
very
if you
different
go,
words, but
but because they don't, I don't
Oh,
know.
is it
I
not
don't know.
say- yeah, I don't know the
exact verbiage.
wording of it. Yeah, you're
But the
right.
thing is that if you interpret that in modern times,
Yeah.
it does kind of seem like you could make an argument, a weak one, but an argument that you have to be in a militia to have arms, and that's because of how we speak.
And there are
Which
people who make
changes
that
the
argument.
entire-
And there's
yeah,
people
yeah.
who make that argument all the time.
Like
and
Kamala
it's
Harris
really,
at
it's
one
really
point
weak.
had
It's
that
really
argument.
dumb. Please stop.
Right. Yeah. Please stop.
I mean,
It's-
I'm for gun control, but that to me, that's like.
Well, it
past-
depends
You've
what
gone
you
too
mean.
far with that.
I
That's
mean,
too
I don't
far,
think
yeah.
felons should have guns.
Right.
I don't think violent people should.
No, yeah.
Have guns.
No, that
But I
one-
don't think
which
there
makes
should be
a lot of sense.
magazine limits. I don't think assault rifles are a real thing.
Well, yeah,
You
well,
know?
no, because it's actually what does AR stand for? It's not assault rifle.
Armalite.
Armalite. Thank you. Yes.
Armalite
it's-
rifle.
Yeah. So the whole like that right there,
Yeah.
which is just the problem is people are like, oh, assault rifle.
Yeah.
And they hear that all the
You
time.
know, if you
yeah.
if you show somebody an AK-47, it's all black. It's plastic and black. It's an assault rifle. You show them the standard one, that's wood.
Dude,
They're like,
yeah,
oh, that's a
it's-
hunting rifle. People
Really?
don't know what they're fucking talking
Really?
about. Yeah.
Not. I'm actually. It's just the people's perception of it. It
Yeah.
blows my. Well, the same way that you
Which
can
is,
have.
it's the tyranny of democracy, right?
Right. Well, you can
If
have,
everybody thinks something is true, they're gonna vote on, in on a law,
It's
and it could be ass.
which ultimately breaks down to this
Which is why
lack of
democracy is a
education
bad
on the
thing.
subject,
Oh, wait.
right?
Yeah, okay.
It's the point is if you take and were to educate people on this,
Well, it depends who gets to it first, really, right?
right?
So
Well,
I
because
think
it's really hard to
experts should just be in charge
re-educate
of it.
someone.
Just you should have experts in charge of like.
Ooh, oh wait, who decides who the experts are?
Yeah, that's a good
And that's the
question.
problem that we have today.
So it really all comes down to just, whatever direction you want things to go.
Right.
Yeah, and I
Well,
have
and-
my vision, and
Mhm.
other people have other visions.
Right. Well, and this is the problem that one of the ones that bothered the fuck out of me is watching. It was a while back on Facebook or something. You could see. Well, it's everywhere, but they showed a journalist describing how a bump rifle or a bump stock worked. You ever see that?
No.
And it was like a CNN or something special, whatever it was, and they showed this. It was a fully automatic rifle that they're showing in all the videos.
Oh yeah.
And then they're like, the bump stock works like this, and it didn't make any sense how.
They're
like,
just holding down the trigger. 'cause
yeah, they're
it's
just
fully
holding on the
auto.
trigger, and they're like, this is illegal.
This is
I'm
how
like,
it
well,
fires.
fucking, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, but nobody's fact checking because the only people that are establishing certain things don't have any knowledge on the subject.
Well, honestly,
Right.
I'm not even gonna say that they don't have any knowledge. I think the people who are establishing these things like assault rifle, they know perfectly well that
Right.
there's no classification of an assault rifle.
Right.
They know that doesn't actually mean anything. And so the whole point of it is just to get those weapons out of circulation. It's like, remember the gay marriage thing?
Which part of it?
Yeah.
The whole thing where it was like, oh, we can't let this fucking happen. We can't let gays get married.
Right. Okay.
and
Yeah, I
it
remember
means
that. Yeah,
nothing
there's a
to
big-
anybody. Like we
No,
just we
does
should
it
just
really-
let
does it
gays get
change your
married.
sh-
It
does it
doesn't
change your
fucking
life
affect
at all?
anybody.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a red herring to get votes
Did
on.
your kid suddenly become gay because Jack and Jeff got married over there?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't change.
And
jack
so,
shit.
it's like it's just like that, where it's like complete red herrings used to just push things past. And
Right.
more conspiratorial people are like, they're trying to take the guns away because they want to, put us all in ghettos eventually. And honestly, yeah, there's probably like this little tiny modicon of truth to that.
Well,
little
so
teeny
there's-
tiny
There's
thing.
always gonna be.
Because it's going to
Which
make it
part, though?
easier. You just
What?
got to look at the straight math on that. Is it
Tim's-
easier
Tim's
or
got
not?
Tim's got his tinfoil hat coming out here.
Or Alex
They're
Jones.
putting us. Yeah, Alex Jones are.
I don't know, Joe.
going
We-
for this.
They're gonna put us in.
the
the-
spirit rapists from the third dimension. They're trying to come up to the seventh dimension.
Yeah, but
No,
is
yeah,
it
yeah.
easier or not to subdue a population that's armed?
No, obviously that's gonna be. It's a loaded question.
Boom.
Of course, it's
yeah,
easier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got an answer.
Of course, yeah.
And the more sophisticated the populace's weaponry is, the harder it is to
Right.
subdue.
Right.
And so I kind of err on allowing people to have sophisticated weaponry. And yeah, if there's anyone in the comments right now, yeah, it does mean mortars and tanks and drones. Yes,
Yeah,
it
well,
does. I include all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Nuclear weapons?
That's
No.
a step beyond. I don't know. To be
I don't
honest,
think
we-
anyone should have
No,
those.
nobody
Yeah.
needs that shit because you get more than what was it?
Even countries, I don't
If
think
you
should
set
have
off
them.
like 3 of those in a row, you actually change the environment enough.
Around
we're,
it.
We're
yeah.
fucked.
Yeah, something. Bad
Yeah.
things happen when they go off.
Yeah, yeah,
We don't need those.
yeah.
Nobody needs
We
them.
don't. We don't need. We've gone too far at that point.
But yeah, it's that's that I don't. I think there's a small amount of truth to that. I think
Yeah.
it makes the population easier to control. I don't think it makes it safer to have less of them.
No. Well, ultimately, what we need,
I
it's
don't
not
know.
so much more or less. It's it'd be the education,
The
understanding.
person
So,
having
for
them?
example,
I don't know.
here's my my.
I don't want to train a school shooter how to shoot well.
No, but let's talk about this. It's like when you look at us. So last week,
Right.
no, a couple weeks ago, whatever it was, me and you and Taryn, we all went up. We went to the mountains. We took off, ditched California, had some fun time shooting. Right.
Yeah.
Now everything that we did was 100% to the law.
Yeah.
Like we did it right. But what was nice is that you and Taryn, of course, have been through the military. Like
Yes.
you're trained. You understand these things. Now myself, I simply kind of sat back. I was like, there's things I don't know.
Right.
And there's a few points where you checked me. Like I would do something. Remember, I was like, naturally, I'd grab the gun,
And, it
and I'd
feels
have
good
the, and I'd put the finger over the trigger. I wouldn't pull it, but I'd just have it resting on the trigger.
Yeah.
One of those things where you're like, hey, by the way, this is something you should do. And it's little notes, but through the education, through the process of constantly training and doing this and that, it's practicing safe usage,
Absolutely.
Right.
I think firearm safety is paramount.
which
Yeah.
is massive, right?
Yeah.
And there's no way I would have learned that had I not been out there with you and Taryn, who are obviously trained properly. So it's
Didn't you have to take some kind of course to buy a pistol?
yeah,
It's a questionnaire about
it's
how
a
to hold it.
it's a 25 question bubble.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
It
when
makes
you
it makes me sad because I think
that's
that
it's
everybody should have a class. But I'm also gonna say that I'm not. I wouldn't advocate requiring that.
Yeah, I
So-
think I think it should absolutely be as hard to get a gun as it is to get a driver's license.
It's
Like,
harder to get a gun than get a driver's license. Have you ever purchased a gun?
I have not.
disagree.
All right, so in what
I
way-
You don't need a background check to get a driver's license.
Yeah, but do
You
know
don't
how
have
much
to pass the test either.
Yeah, you have to. No, for a driver's license, you have to still do a written, and you have to do a driving test. To get
Yeah.
a pistol, all I had to do was walk in that day. I paid $25. I filled out some bubbles that I did not have to study for because it's all
Right.
common sense.
Common sense.
It's like, do you point the gun at somebody? No.
Yeah.
You know.
DV doesn't do background checks. Well, how
No,
would they
they
know
don't.
that?
No,
like-
DMV doesn't do.
they do
No.
So wait, so this is a legitimate question. Then how do they not like? How would they know that you have some kind of other like state background from like in driving in a different
They
state?
don't.
They don't.
yeah,
okay.
real
That's
quick.
Then they should. Fucking
No.
then you know what?
Why?
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
because I want people who are on the road to not be like, 5-time drunk drivers or anything like that. and they,
Everybody's
like,
got to
Yeah.
drive, dude.
everyone. No,
Even though
not
it's a
it-
privilege, you realize how
You
common
really
it
got to
is.
have
Yeah.
to drive.
No, you can take public transportation if you're incapable of. Yeah, you know what? If you're a 5-time DUI holder,
Well,
5-time, I'm talking like serial.
so-
you're not. You're,
Yeah, but you're
there's
talking
no
about the
indication.
extremes, though.
Well, there's also the other extreme
Shoot,
is that
man.
if you make it too hard, they've found this nice medium spot on how challenging it is to get a license. Because if you make it too hard, people will just drive without licenses. And if you get a certain percentage of people driving without them, you can't arrest them all.
Yeah.
So they found that sweet spot where it's people,
You do have to find a sweet spot.
yeah, where they oblige to the rules. Like that's part of where we're at. If they made it too hard to get a license, I already know people who don't drive with a license because they're like, oh, well, I can't pass that shit, or I can't, my background, blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah, because if it's a state issue, they will find that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there is it's your California file, but that's not a background check.
It's
That's
it's not in
It's
depth.
background
Like,
checks are supposally kind of extensive, where it's like,
Mm.
hey, if you have any felonies in any state, you're not allowed to get one.
Okay.
If you're a terrorist, you're not allowed to get one. If you're on a
Right.
terrorist watch list, you are, which I am fine with because you haven't committed a crime.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're just on a watch list. at
Although that
point,
would
yeah.
have probably stopped that Pulse nightclub situation.
Which I
It was a while
yeah.
ago. The guy
50 dead or
shut up
slightly over
he
50.
killed like 49 people.
Ah.
Yeah.
Rough. Yeah.
But there's a bunch of stuff where his dad was like an FBI informant, so I think
Oh, they probably
they just kind of looked the other way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And because his oh, my son's crazy, please don't arrest him.
Right.
I put in favors for the FBI and they let him go, I guess. But
Makes sense. Yeah.
I
I don't know. That's all hearsay though.
It's
I
the way
can't.
the world works.
The
too, yeah.
justification
It
for
makes
why
sense to
people
me.
take written tests though and a behind the wheel test for driving a car, the reasons why they have them go through those hoops, I think, are absolutely the case for people with guns.
Also, you can get a license at 16.
Yeah.
You can't buy a firearm here at 16.
You-
I'm not sure if you can buy a
You know what?
firearm there
You
anywhere.
you get a hunting license at like 14, right?
You can get a hunting license, but
what?
you're supposed
I-
to use firearms that are purchased by your
Yeah,
like
by your
parents.
parents.
Yeah,
'cause
sure.
they-
You know
they
what?
do
If
the
you're doing the
up-down rule.
test,
Yeah.
if you're doing the test, then hell yeah, get a hunting license. Because then you would be able to legitimately hold hunt with a gun. That would be useful at 16. Like, I'm all for 16-year-olds being able to hold a gun if they prove themselves competent and respectful of the gun. You know, the gun safety, all that.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
So, yeah. You know what?
No,
Shit, yeah. I
don't.
can get behind that. In fact, 2 years from now, they're going to be like potentially asked to hold a gun.
Right. Well, but that's
Sent
partially
overseas.
part of the problem would be is that there's just this negative connotation for some reason, by half the population, that the idea of touching a gun makes you a bad person.
Well, guns are scary.
Oh,
they're
not
they're
half the
responsibility personified.
Why isn't that same thought applied to car?
Because cars are ubiquitous. They're everywhere.
We use them
Yeah,
a lot.
well,
Well, we use
guns
them a
are
lot
too,
for
dude.
not.
Guns are too, but you don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
So with guns, I mean, all right. Here's the thing with guns.
Yeah.
Unless you're shooting targets, you're hitting, so you're either hitting objects that could die or could not die, but you're still I mean,
with a car,
And-
if you're not hitting targets, you're hitting.
no, you're
objects
driving.
that
You're
could
getting from
die
point
or
A to
not
point
die.
B. Though, there's
Yeah.
a lot more. I'm not saying that if you use a gun, you're going to be like putting things to death, but I mean like with hunting,
Right. The idea being that
and
the person
warfare, which
one
are
of the
two
reasons
main
it was created
usages.
was to
Those are
put
the-
things to death. Yeah.
Those are kind of what they're designed for. Cars are for all about getting you from point A to point B,
Right.
Yeah.
efficiently.
That's why I don't really like to talk about cars and guns in the same. I'm trying to compare them because I don't find them to be comparable.
They're not. Yeah.
You know, one's a
that's-
right, one's a privilege, one's a utility, one's not.
But the
You know?
testing
Interesting,
component,
yeah.
I do think the rationale.
What's
it remains the
interesting
same
though
between
is
the two.
you
can't
take
compare
that
'em.
what you just said. One's a utility, one's not.
Yeah.
The car's a utility,
Yes.
but it's a privilege.
Yes.
The gun's not a utility, but it's a right.
Right.
That's kind of odd
But
to have
historical
those.
reasons.
It-
The
it- it
historical
makes
reasons.
It
sense to
used to
me.
be a utility,
Well, I would say it
or it
functions
still
as
is
a
a
deterrent.
utility. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So if you want to talk about on a personal defense level,
Yeah.
unless you do spend some time using your firearm,
Yeah.
you are not going to be better off with one.
Yeah. If you don't.
Yeah.
Practice
I mean,
that
you
shit.
might. I know
Yeah.
it's there's always an element of chance there. you
Right.
know?
Right.
But if you don't
But you
practice,
should probably practice that
you need to
shit.
practice.
Yeah.
You know, you need to put at least 500 rounds a year. You know, out of your
Yeah.
Some
weapon.
high rate of people who are like killed in their own homes during like, as a cause of gun
Wasn't
violence.
large. It's by their own weapon, and
It's from their own weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not even
Hey.
going to pretend like I'm like consulting a specific study. This is all just hearsay, but it makes perfect sense. I
I've
mean,
heard enough
like,
times that I hope it's true.
if I was a dumbass,
Going on a point I
if
had
a gun-
earlier, if you say it enough
Yeah.
times, it becomes true. Doesn't make it true, but
it makes perfect sense.
Here we
though.
are,
I mean,
though.
yeah,
I mean,
it-
most gun deaths
yeah.
are a result of handguns
Mm-hmm.
being
Improper use.
used.
Yeah.
Well, improper use. It depends. They're being used to kill people. Is that proper use? I would say so, but
well,
they're
yeah, yeah, that's a
being
good
properly used
Yeah.
by people to kill other people.
Yeah.
With handguns in cities, in dense cities.
Right.
That's 80% of your fucking gun deaths right there, and another 10%, 15% of them. And I'm getting as close as I can, but I do actually have seen these statistics.
Yeah.
They're suicides,
Huh.
and I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
What do I say to that?
That's because that's a.
You know, do I want to ban guns because
no,
somebody's gonna kill himself with them? Nah.
Well, they
because
would-
they're
they
gonna
would-
find another way. Yeah.
that
you-
one is.
It's just
You're
because
gonna
it's
kill
convenient.
yourself,
Yeah.
right? So when you look at gun violence and death in the context of where it occurs, how it occurs, and what demographics it goes through,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not happening in rural communities. It's happening in dense city communities.
Right.
You and it's not happening with assault rifles. It's not happening with hunting rifles.
Armor lights, asshole.
Yeah. It's not happening with belt fed mortars. It's
Right.
it's happening with handguns, 9mm handguns, most
Yeah.
common thing. It's then you can start talking about what do we do about this?
Yeah.
Because this is getting ridiculous. But outside of that, it's banning assault rifles. What the fuck does that mean?
Right.
Yeah, you got to get the language down.
I don't know what
That's
that
a
I
big
don't
Well,
know what
that's-
that
language
means.
is everything in
Which-
writing.
You're gonna
laws.
save what, 15 people a year, and if you really ask me, if you really push me into the corner,
Yeah.
is it worth the American populace being armed
Right.
for specifically defense
Yeah.
or deterrent from the government?
Yeah.
Is it worth 15 people a year? Yes. Is it worth 50? Sure. Is it worth 90? Yeah. And I kind of I kind of wonder if it's like
what's the threshold though? Because that's
stats. Just
So, like-
whatever someone has said to me, I just say yes.
so yeah. What's the
It's like
the
how
number?
many people have to die? All of them.
It's like-
yeah.
all
Well,
of
no,
them?
it's unironically.
So
yes.
like if 500,000 people were dying from like school shootings,
I would assume that there's a war going on if 500,000 people are dying.
Yeah. 500,000 is a big number.
If we
big
put that,
number.
if we
That's
put
a lot
that
of
in
schools,
context
yeah.
like that, then yeah, absolutely, it's
What
worth it
about-
because now you're killing an enemy.
What about 10,000 a year?
10,000 a year.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's just like a
I don't
school.
know.
Like every county at least has one school shooting throughout the year. At some point.
Yeah, and
You know,
recently
that'd probably
it's
rack
become
up amount.
But
the point, I guess the point
yeah.
that's the only devil's advocate I can throw your way off
Well,
the top of my
I
head
mean,
right
we're
now.
not
Is like,
we're not actually talking about 10,000 a year.
well, no, it's the point. That's
In
the reason
school
why
shootings?
people. That's
Yeah.
the reason why people make such a big deal. They
We-
hardline on like
We are
the
talking 15 a year.
yeah,
15
it's a much
years.
lower. Yeah,
And that's too many. People argue that's
Is
too
it?
many because
That's what I'm saying.
it could be one. And people still
yeah,
argue
well,
that
obviously
that's
you
one
want
too many.
it to be
You want
none.
zero.
Yeah, you
Nobody.
want zero.
I don't want anyone to die. I don't want anyone to have
No,
cancer,
yeah.
and I want everybody to have a good
But
quality
this
of life.
is where ultimately we come back to
What
living
is
in
feasible?
this world of tolerance.
Yeah.
Is that there is a certain number that is like shit just happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we want a world where there's no car deaths, but unexplainable things happen. We want no
or
airplane
explainable
deaths.
Things. Just
Explainable, but
people
it's
kill
the
each
fact
other.
that we are human. Nonetheless, there is ultimately this unpredictable factor to what happens in the populations of humans. Sometimes you fall off a cliff, get
Yeah.
eaten by a lion, whatever the fuck happens, get mauled by a gorilla.
Mhm.
There's a lot of these, and so maybe it's gonna happen. Like you're trying to
it's
moderate
the-
that number down.
It's
the smallest
you
possible.
don't want it to be
Yeah.
a high number.
So what you do is you
Yeah.
never just get
But-
anything to zero. You simply find those that are the higher numbers
Yeah, you're
and
always,
work on
like,
that
approaching.
problem.
You're approaching
And
zero.
it-
But what's
yeah.
the independent variable that's the most decisive in like what and how many people die from school shootings? Because like it seems like gun control advocates are saying that it's purely like the availability of firearm accessories, things that make them more give them more killing power, I guess is what they say. Which I think killing power is a weird term, but I can understand where they're coming from. I would say that and no, like a fully automatic weapon is going to have more killing power than a pistol, depending on the situation, though, right?
No,
I
it
mean,
depends on who's wielding it. What's the education
Yeah.
level? What's the
it's some fucky stuff, but like the point is I don't want to get bogged down. Like I want the question
yeah,
I'm
let's
posing
not
for
get
you,
bogged
Tim, is
down
like
in
what
details, yeah.
what
Mm.
like what is the one variable that needs to be like tuned to determine whether or not how many people are going to die? Sorry, we're in the second hour here.
Yeah.
And how many people die in school shootings?
With school shootings?
Yeah.
I have no fucking clue.
Okay.
I'm not even there.
Yeah, I don't know. Either.
Honestly,
I was hoping you'd know.
it's such a niche problem
Yeah.
that
It's weird.
I would much rather focus on inner city handgun violence and school shootings.
Okay.
Because that way you save more
I
lives.
could ban knives.
Oh yeah, that's working out.
No,
great. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like people have a right to self defense. And then out of all these gun deaths,
Yeah.
there's a certain percentage of them that are completely justifiable homicides.
Yeah.
That aren't crime related or gang related. Generally, if you kill somebody, it's crime related.
Usually,
something's
yeah,
happening.
Yeah. Something's
criminal.
happened. Something bad has happened. You don't know.
But I'm
yeah.
okay with a citizen killing a criminal who is threatening their life or
Yeah.
property. I do
Right.
not. I think
Well,
that
it's
the
hard to vouch
California
for the
law-
alternative.
Yeah.
When circumstances are that dire and situations where someone's life is in danger.
Even when they're not that dire,
Yeah.
and somebody's breaking into your house to steal your Xbox. I'm
Yeah.
saying
Still fucked
I'm saying
up.
ice
Yeah.
the guy, put him in the morgue.
Yeah,
We
the
don't-
whole
you don't need
castle
that
thing,
because
yeah.
you know what, that
Right.
behavior we all pretend like when something like that happens, like this dude was this is one time thing.
Yeah.
He's not gonna get more aggressive.
Yeah.
He's not gonna break into more houses.
Yeah.
If you break into a
Well,
house,
what do they say?
and if you
There's-
look at the law is different. If you
Yeah.
break into a house with somebody who's there
Yeah.
or not, that's a different charge. Because now you're home invasion.
Right. Home invasion versus.
And if the
breaking-
guy's gonna come
yeah.
in, say it's a little old lady, it's not one of us. A little old lady.
Mhm.
She's got an Xbox, and
Killing
it's
it
the
on
first
COD,
one. It's
yeah.
the first one. And she's playing Halo, right? And
Good
somebody
choice.
breaks in, and she tries to stop the guy from taking her Xbox, and he pushes her over.
Hmm.
And you push an old lady over, you kill her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Right.
very possible. Yeah.
If I go up to fight a dude with my hands because he's taking my Xbox, he could kill me.
Yeah.
He could potentially maybe has a weapon.
One thing leads to
and he
another.
just beats
Suddenly,
my
it
ass,
becomes
and
it
I die,
escalates. Yeah.
It's perfectly
Yep.
reasonable.
Yeah.
So I'm saying just skip all that, and you put rounds down range, and the threat before it becomes one.
Not which is how
It's already
yeah.
in your house. It's a threat. Let's not mince words.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
It's there.
Let's not
Yeah.
be silly. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think people should have the right to be able to kill someone who's entered their home, and is potentially threatening their safety. Because I would be afraid of a situation where somebody, like, breaks into a home, and then the guy is like reacting. He's like, oh shit, I need to protect my kids or something like that.
Yeah.
And he does shoot. Maybe he's intending to shoot the guy like center mass or something like that, not kill the guy, just subdue him or something like that, and he accidentally does kill him. But the guy didn't intend to kill the home invader. He just, I don't know if this is even making
you
sense.
shoot at something you intend to kill
You
it.
shoot to kill, yeah.
Yeah.
But the point I guess I'm trying to say is that would be bullshit if the guy who was fearing the safety of his kids, like gets put away for manslaughter charges because he accidentally used too much excessive force on somebody invading their home.
Right. Well,
Now, I think that should be the law. Now, me personally, this is something I also want to mention. I don't know how much it's worth, but if someone was breaking into my home, I'd probably fire a warning shot.
I don't know. I don't do warning shots.
If I knew they were unarmed, if I knew they were unarmed, it'd probably be stupid. It'd probably be my downfall. But yeah, I would honestly, because I have a lot of like personal reservations towards killing people.
right,
to the point
but
where
that could be literally the moment where you shoot the wiring shot, he hears a shot,
Gets
boom,
a jump on you.
you're dead.
Yeah.
Because that sounds like a shot on him.
And that's a risk that you're
Yeah.
you're willing to take for yourself. It's just
Right.
not something that I'm going to take on myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And this is ultimately where it comes
That's a
down
personal
to.
preference.
I would
Yeah,
probably.
That's how you look at the situation.
Actually,
but yeah.
for the record, I'd probably not fire a warning shot.
Now you
in the
change it.
moment, yeah, no. In the I mean, let's
here's
be
the thing.
real. Like,
let's
I've got
not broadcast
adrenaline
it. By the way, you come into my house, I ain't shooting you.
Yeah. Not a good thing to
people
say.
are-
on the-
I've got
on the
hella-
air here.
I've got
Yeah.
hella guns, so don't break into
Yeah.
my house because you're gonna get the business. you heard it here first.
Willie gonna give it to you.
X gonna give it to you. He's actually higher up than X,
You
right?
know,
WX? No, you're right. Before
I
the
don't see
X.
anything
Yeah.
wrong with
But
with people not wanting to kill other people. I don't see anything wrong with
Mm,
that.
mm, that's-
But it's
it's a
for
good
me
nature.
It'll probably
personally.
be my
Yeah.
downfall. I've read
Somebody
enough
comes
Game
into
of
the home,
Thrones.
you get them.
I'm
gonna
a
happen,
realist.
yeah.
Like, it would probably be my downfall. It'd be like my character fall, and they'd be like, "Oh, why'd he do?" And they'd be like, "No, he foreshadowed well enough in his life that he was a pacifist bitch. He was
Oh.
totally."
Well,
No, I'm just
ultimately,
kidding.
we have much to learn here. But
We all do.
I am I'm gonna close it all
Yeah,
up.
let's call
we
it
got,
a
we got
night.
some drinking to do.
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
All right.
Tim,
Yes.
fucking thanks for coming out, dude.
I hope
Thanks for
I
joining us
entertained.
tonight, man.
I
Let's
would
get
love
one of
to
these
come
going
back.
again. Let's have definitely gonna be recurring.
We'll talk
We're-
about contracts.
Oh man, it's gonna we get some marathon runs.
That's how this guy
to,
get $5 earlier.
Oh yeah, we still got some fucking facts from you.
He did good.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
It's
Oh,
on the
yeah,
floor.
no.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
He did get it. You
Well,
did
yeah,
good.
we'll get it. Well, I'm gonna hold those to you next time Tim's on though.
He got 4
Okay.
more.
Yeah.
4 more.
Or you're
okay.
buying me a beer tonight.
No, he
Yeah.
did the Second Amendment introduction.
Oh
God damn it.
shit! 3 more.
3 beers tonight.
$1 beer.
Yeah, we're
Is it
going to
Pabst?
we're going to yeah.
I can text you.
Pabst.
Yeah, I can text you. Okay, we'll do the invoice.
We'll take care of
Yeah,
later.
all
But
right.
all right,
Thanks for joining
Anyways,
us,
man.
everyone.
Yeah,
We-
All right,
thanks
guys.
for coming out. It's a good one, man. All
Thank you very
right,
much.
let's go drink some beer.
All right.
Close it.
Graphic.